Sleepy town settled for the night, where every lawn is tailored just right, and it's about time that the back porch light comes on. At that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street.
Hey, Witch Hey.
Hey, Witch Hey, good morning.
I'm Kristina.
Welcome to Kristina. We're both feeling a little sleepy this morning, so we're just gonna keep jumbling our words.
I thought when we got back, it would be like riding a bike. No, everything like kicked me in the taint out the door every day since that return from Boston.
See, now this most recent trip, that's like the real studio experience. Nothing ever moves smoothly. So the fact that our first trip went so smooth, I'm still like blown away. And I told you, that is single-handedly the most smooth studio experience that I've ever had.
That is good to know. I wish I remembered that while we were in the studio this second time, because I totally forgot how good we had it that first round. Not saying this was bad. It was just a little more crunch for time.
Yeah.
And some things had to be rearranged. But it was still a good experience. Just we had it really good the first time.
Yeah, I think because the first time we went, our focus was literally one song.
Yeah.
There weren't too many moving parts. I mean, there were still a lot of moving parts, but like we only had to focus on the one song, and we had like, what, 2-3 days to focus on that one song? We had like 5 days, which is only 2 more days than what we had the first trip for 4 fucking songs.
I know.
That was a lot. And I have to say, when Mike said the trip would only be like 5 to 6 days, I was like, in my head, I'm like, that is really fucking ambitious.
It's crunch. It's crunch time.
We took 3 days to record one song the first time. How are we going to fit 4 into only a couple more days than that?
I don't know how he does it.
We didn't do it. We needed an extra more to finish everything.
But he does it with other creators.
And I guess a lot of it has to do with like all the harmony layering that I like to do. He even said, he's like, yeah, I don't think I've ever had anybody do this many harmonies. So I know that had a lot to do with it. And like that one day, the day that you left, when we started on the harmonies I think we started on One Green Eye, One Blue that day. And it was just like,
I think I left before you guys got to the bridge of doing harmonies for that.
That whole day is a blur. I don't even remember like at what point during that day that, I know you left at 4:00, but I don't remember where we were and what we were doing when you left. Because my mind was mush at that point.
Should we start at the beginning?
Let's start at the beginning.
We're talking about stuff and I'm like, oh yeah. We'll talk about all of it. This is going to be a recap of our Boston adventure where we got to record the 4 more songs you guys helped us fund through the crowdfunding campaign. But first, we want to do a patron shout out. Special thank you for joining our Patreon, Cynthia W. and
Jennifer M. Welcome. Did you notice that Patreon started like letting people join your Patreon for free?
I saw that. I think I follow Joseph's for free just to like get an update. Like, oh, he loaded something, but I can't see it.
So for free members, they can get public posts. And if you click everyone when you go to like, set your post up, I think if you click everyone, it also gives them access. So welcome Cody R and Hannah H. We just want to say welcome to the party. Even though you're free members, we still love that you're here and that you just want a little tiny peek, just dipping the toe in. And maybe, if you like what you see, maybe you'll join the block party eventually.
Dip your toe in the jacuzzi. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So welcome to all our new patrons. We're happy to have you here. For those of you guys just joining us and who have just found us, I guess, more recently, we also write original music based around practical magic and our love for the movie and the books. And this past October, like Kristina was mentioning, we did have a crowdfunding campaign with a studio called Plaid Dog up in Boston. We recorded a song back in September, and we launched it in September or October. We released Magnolia Street, which was our first single. This past trip that we're going to recap right now, this was March 29th through April I don't even remember the dates.
March 29th to April 4th.
Easter weekend, right?
Easter weekend.
Yeah. So we were there for like an extended weekend into the week. And we worked on 4 more songs with Mike Davidson. And we had a couple new people on our tracks, right?
We got to meet quite a few new people. But for those just joining us, this podcast started as like a little shoulder support for the music. The only reason we have the podcast is because we wanted this music to get to your ears, right?
Yep.
That was back in February 2022.
Yeah. And we just did a song-a-sode for our song Blood Oath. And it's fun to like talk about these newer songs that nobody has heard yet because it always enables us to go back to that place in February 2022 because we basically wrote all of our music. We wrote like 20-something songs in the span of like a month and a half.
6 months?
No.
Yeah.
A month and a half.
Well, all of our songs in a month and a half?
A month and a half.
No way. That's
the majority
crazy.
of them. And then we had a couple stragglers, like maybe 2 or 3 that we wrote like later on down the line, but nothing that I think anybody has heard up until this point yet. So everything that everybody's heard up until this point on our song-a-sodes has all been in that span of like a month and a half.
That's
February to March of 2022. Yeah.
Damn.
So really like a very small little sliver of time that really started this all, kicked off this whole thing. And then once we started the podcast, it enabled us to kind of go down that, memory lane every time you want to dig out another song and talk about it and tell everybody what it's all about.
Exactly.
So it's really cool to do those. So if you guys just heard our most recent Blood Oath song-a-sode, go check that out. I think that one was released last week by the time this one comes out. I think consecutively.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so go check that out. But today we are going to recap Boston, our most recent Boston trip, and recording 4 more songs with Plaid Dog Recording. Before we jump into the actual trip and the actual revisit, I wanted to like talk a little bit about the pre-production process and like setting up and getting us ready to even get into the studio because there was a lot of like legwork and stuff that we had to do to even get our songs ready to get back there.
Right. It's not like you go into the studio, you step in front of the microphone, Mike sets up his end, and you just start singing. That is not how it works at all. No. There's a lot of planning behind it. And it took 4 weeks. We had 1 meeting a week, more or less, for each song.
Yeah. So we started pre-production, I want to say in February, and we worked on, like you said, about 1 song per week. I think week 1 was Brownies for Breakfast, just because that song is so straightforward to the point. It's basically the drums are straightforward. But I think going into it, I kind of had, not reservations again, but I was nervous because I'm not a drummer. You're not a drummer. We're songwriters, but like all the drumming that I've ever known, like Avi's always dealt with the drummer in our band, so he's always kind of taking care of the drum arrangements and kind of like I would try to articulate things, and we've been together so long, so he understands what's going on in my head when I'm trying to like say what I want, but I can't.
Yes.
He knows what I mean, but like Mike, he's like a newer person that we're working with. We're feeling out. So even though we worked on 1 song with him already, it was like jumping back into that unknown, uncharted territory. Like, where's this song gonna go? Like, there's so many options. And I know me and you both kind of had analysis paralysis stepping into these sessions. Like, I don't know what I want.
Right. It does help. So initially, let's talk about how we chose these other 4 songs, because that was kind of like a hurdle to get over as well. When we knew we had the funds to do this, we had like a draft of the other 4 maybe songs, and we're going back and forth of like, well, I like this one, I like this one. Justina was looking at this EP as a whole and what you're getting in the EP. She didn't want too many slow songs, which I love. Most of the songs I love on there are slow songs.
Yeah.
And initially I wasn't sold on Brownies for Breakfast, and then I warmed up to it. And by the end, if you listen to last episode, the Blood Oath, when we talked a little bit about the very last song we ended up choosing, it was down to the wire between 2 other songs. And it took like that meeting, that 4th week, to figure out what that song was going to be. You might go over that in your notes here, but
we talk about all of that.
Awesome.
So yeah, week 1 I think was Brownies for Breakfast because it was the most straightforward song. Week 2, I think we did One Green Eye, One Blue, and then week 3 might have been All Hallows Eve, or it might have been Flip Flop. I don't remember which ballad we did first, but started with Brownies. Then week 2, week 3 were both the ballads, got those out of the way because those are, slower drums, a little easier. But even though it sounds like it's more stripped down, the drums are a little more nuanced, which by that point, I think I was starting to get more comfortable in kind of like picturing exactly what I wanted to hear and where. I don't know if you noticed at all, like how I was like trying to give him direction and being able to articulate things a little bit better by the end, and like, no, I don't want that. I want it like this, and like being able
Absolutely.
to kind of like voice what I was hearing in my head a little better, and I guess articulate it better so he could understand what the hell I meant, because I don't
Yeah.
speak drums. And like most of it, as you know, like I'm a vocalist, so everything that I was articulating, I was kind of like
Mimicking it
I was
with your.
mimicking it with my voice, and kind of like I can count beats. I was hitting my desk to the beat that I was hearing in my head. I guess that's what he took and kind of like formed the MIDI tracks with.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
it was also difficult because the three of us, Mike, Justina, and I, are not in the same room trying to do this.
So
There's
fun.
like a third-party audio app that we have headphones on, we're listening to that, and we're also watching him move things around on his platform. What does he use?
He uses for our sessions, he uses Logic, because Logic, I guess, has a better MIDI interface, and they also have that new drummer integration feature. But once he moves everything over to the studio session, he works in Pro Tools, I believe.
Yeah. So the logic is kind of like setting up the plan. It's not the structure, it's just like the plan for the drums. But as he's changing things, there's like a delay on our end. So it's kind of hard to catch things right away. And I think because we've worked with each other for so long that when you're like, okay, do this, we're like, do, 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 do.
Yeah.
I get that. But it's really hard to get that on his end sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
But when we were in studio, it was a lot easier, especially working right there with Russ, our drummer, which was really cool.
Yeah. So that was like 3 weeks, right? So Brownies, One Green, and One Blue, and All Hallows Eve. So after week 3, we were kind of, like you said before, we were going back and forth on which song would be our fourth. And we talked a little bit about this on our most recent Song of Soap for Blood Oath. Do you remember initially when we were talking about the budget a bit earlier on, and like before we even launched the crowdfunding campaign, and Mike was projecting what we could do with the budget, the projected budget number, which was around $11,000, which we ended up raising, which is awesome. But he was saying that we could probably do like 3 more fully produced balls to the wall type songs, and then the fourth one would be a bit more stripped down. Do you remember him
I
saying
don't remember us. Did we do a stripped down song?
No, that's what I'm saying. We didn't. That's what I think he projected the fourth song being a more stripped down song, and that's probably why he gave us that like projected like 5-6 days in the studio should do it. But
Whoops.
listen, if I know we have an $11,000 budget and we could fit a fourth balls to the wall fully produced song, I'm gonna fucking take it. Because when are we gonna get into a studio again? I mean, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so
So-
funny. I really forgot that that's why we were kind of flip-flopping on, okay, it needs to be easy to maybe just acoustic in some maracas or a fucking tambourine, but no, we did it all for all 4 of them.
I'm really glad we did though, because they're all gonna sound amazing, and I have no doubt in my mind that like he worked his studio magic and it's gonna be awesome. But like I definitely feel like he was trying to do like the fourth one kind of more stripped down, so it was easier to
I forgot.
bang out in like 5 days. So whoops on our part maybe, but like
Yeah, I was not listening.
you can't fucking blame us, right? We wanted everything to sound just beautiful. So
Yeah.
initially, with that thought in mind, I think we had picked our songs. We have a song called Only That Moon, which is a more acoustic stripped down ballad, and also Circle of Brooms, but we had some reservations with both of them. And I think out of those two, we were leaning more toward our song Circle of Brooms. But then as time grew closer to week 4, I think me and you both agreed ultimately that we wanted to hold off on that one because we were nervous that we wouldn't have the budget for a choir, which we were kind of envisioning toward the end of the song. And I guess like with the structure of that song, I wasn't really happy with the end of it yet. I feel like I kind of want to spend more time not writing it, because I mean the whole song is written, but as far as like pre-production goes, I just want to give it the time that it deserves, and I want to spend more time on that one. I feel like.
Sure.
So I didn't want to rush it because I felt like we were in such like a time crunch to get that fourth song ready for Mike. And keep in mind, I still had to like BPM it, click it out, record a scratch guitar, record a scratch vocal, and send it to Mike to review before we even went into the session for that fourth song. So I was like, really like, the fire was under my ass. I was like, if we don't do this song, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do because we couldn't agree on anything.
I know. It was a lot of back and forth. And the other one, the Only That Moon, I was nervous about because it uses such close lines to the dialogue in the script. I was like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
But that would have been maybe the more responsible choice for a stripped down song.
You're probably right. Hindsight's 2020, but like in the back of my mind, I remember that conversation that we had with Mike, but I was also kind of pushing it out because I was like, I just
maybe he'll forget.
And nobody said anything, so I just rolled with it.
Yeah.
So since we had scrapped those two options, Only That Moon and Circle of Brooms, the ones that we initially had in mind, it was back to the drawing board. And during this time, I had finished scratch demoing a song that I had started writing probably within the last year or so. And then I showed it to you, Kristina, and you liked it, but I could tell that you weren't sold on it. And then we started making changes and we couldn't agree on finalizing some of the lyrics and the melodies. And I think we were just both so exhausted. We were stressed. Things were getting down to the wire, and on top of all the music, I had to prep for the studio, recording the scratch guitar and the vocals, and the figuring out the BPMs and the notes on all the pre-production and the drum arrangements that we had done up to this point on those other three songs. Like, we had to review those MIDI, those arrangements that we had made just to make sure everything is how we want it before we step into that studio. Mind you, we were still running a podcast. I was gathering all of the perk materials to bring to Boston. I had to get stickers, posters, and thank you cards printed out so I could give you all your stuff to mail out when we saw each other.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot. And I think we were both just like running on fumes. So I think we needed to take a couple days because we had like a little text war going like, well, you want this song?
I know you love the song, and we were trying to change things, but we were trying to change things in like a little amount of time to make it fit on there.
Yeah.
And I just was like, this song has such good bones that I don't want to fuck it up, and we need to give it the time it needs, just like your Circle of Brooms. It just needs its own comfort time.
Right. And I think we needed a couple days just to like breathe, honestly. Yeah. I don't even think we talked much in those like couple days because we just
need to cool off.
We needed to cool off and come back down to earth. Everything's gonna be okay. Take a collective breath. And after a couple days, after deciding, we decided not to use that newer song on the album. We had another chat and then considered two other songs as possible contenders. You had brought up Blood Oath in the past as a possibility, and then I had brought up Phone Tree Day. As we explained in our most recent song episode for Blood Oath, we ultimately decided not to record that one and record Phone Tree Day instead because we wanted to keep the album more balanced. We already had two ballads on the album, and adding a third might have brought the vibe down a little too much. So Phone Tree Day is so much fun, and aesthetically, it matches, I think, Brownies for Breakfast and Magnolia Street so much better. And it's just, they all have that like 90s chick kind of like fun rock sound.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I think that's our sound that we're starting to kind of sculpt.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait. Like, we haven't even heard the Phone Tree Day rough yet.
Or One Green Eye, One Blue, or All Hallows Eve.
Right. I can't wait to hear those. So we did talk about speeding up Blood Oath a little bit in order to have a more up-tempo song on the album, but we both agree that it would do the song a disservice for various reasons, which we did discuss in our most recent Blood Oath song episode. So go check that out if you guys want all the details on like why it ultimately ended up not making this album. But one day we will record it. It will have its time and place, and it will be beautiful, and I look forward to that. So ultimately, we went with Phone Tree Day. So, week 4 of pre-production, we locked in our decision for our fourth song, and we did the drum arrangements for Phone Tree Day. And that pretty much solidified the choice for that song, right?
Right. And I want to put, I guess, on here because we'll forget that initially we were like, okay, technically we'll have a 5-song EP, right? We have 25 songs. So we had listed out in 5 different columns, 5 songs a piece, and we were going to release them or try to record them as like a themed EP. And we were trying to organize them into like Jimmy songs, the aunt songs, sister songs, community songs, like the fun ones. And I still would like to do that with the rest of them. For this first one, I think our choices were perfect.
Yeah.
The way they were supposed to be.
Going back to what you were just saying about having each one have a theme, I definitely am like seeing aesthetically, because like if you think of an album as like a Pinterest board, you kind of want things to aesthetically fit into place with the other song. Like I can't stand when artists put like, it's like a random album and it's like a song that sounds like a pop song, and then a song that sounds like a rock song, and then a song that sounds like synthetics, and then this song is all organic instruments, and it's just like so unfocused. I like songs like when you listen to an album,
Cohesive.
it needs to be cohesive and it needs to feel like they all belong together in some way. And like you can have an up-tempo song, you could have a ballad, you could have like different kinds of songs on an album, but I feel like they should all kind of have the same instrumentation and vibe, I guess you could say.
Same
like,
vibe or same like story arc, because out of the 4 songs we have, One Green Eye, One Blue is a little different than the other ones. It still has our touch to it. The song style and Devil of the Desert, kind of a different song style. I just think it's the story or the characters that each EP is going to focus on is going to be the important part.
Definitely. Like for, I know we're getting a little off track, but for like Jimmy's whole storyline, it's definitely going to have a more of a southern drawl to it. Maybe more slide guitars, maybe mandolin, maybe some banjo, maybe more of that southern swamp sound, you know? I can't wait to record all of those songs. The Jimmy ones are going to be so fucking lit. Anyway.
So pre-production for these songs was the same process as our first single, Magnolia Street, which you guys have probably heard throughout our fundraising campaign back in October. So basically what happens during a pre-production session is that we would meet up with our producer Mike via a Zoom session, and we would arrange all of the drum parts in what's called MIDI. Do you want to explain what that is a little bit?
Yeah, so it's basically like you plug in notes, and the awesome thing about MIDI is that you can make it sound like any instrument you want. And with the drums, you can literally move things around like these little bars on a graph, like on a grid, and you can move them around, and there's like a piano board, like a keyboard on along the left hand side that tells you like what element of the drum kit you're hitting. So literally you can move this one little bar around and you could hear the different sounds when you drag
Ding, boom, ding, bop, boom, boom.
Yeah,
when you slide them all over the place.
It's so obnoxious. So we're telling Mike, we're like, we'd like to hear a kick here, and he's up on the like the hi-hat, and it's like, yeah, like you said, ding, boom, 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 when he finally gets to the floor tom, and it's like, yeah, that's the sound, that's what I want.
That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like a blueprint that we can later give our live drummer. He can look it over and he makes his own shorthand notes of how the song is supposed to go on his end.
Right. Yeah, we got Steve's shorthand notes on Magnolia Street. We never asked Russ for like a little picture of his notebook.
I know. Yeah. Oh well. I'm sure we could email him unless they have to keep all that stuff, right?
Maybe. I don't know. We've peeped Daniel's notebook. His shorthand is interesting, right? Anyway, so this process starting off was very overwhelming for me. And like I said before, I think I had to call Avi into the room a couple of times for his assistance in like some of the technical terminology. And like he's a guitarist, he's not a drummer, but we've been in a band together over the years and he's used to working closely with our drummer to secure arrangements. So he speaks, quote, drummer better than I do. So this was a bit of a learning process for me, trying to articulate the parts exactly how I was hearing them in my head. It was a bit frustrating at times, like you said, because there was a bit of that lag watching Mike doing one thing on the screen versus what we were hearing on the playback. So I think there were moments when all three of us, like our heads were just spinning. Right?
I think Avi was able to also pull from other song material and tell that to Mike, like, oh, like more like this song or that song. And I noticed like in the studio, it was a lot easier. I'm such a visual person that watching him do the song, I was only able to tell him how to change things by pointing at the screen and saying this right here, you know, move it that way. It was so difficult not doing it in person.
It really was. But you gotta make do with what you got. And we were able to bang out those sessions. And mind you, those sessions started late, like on a weeknight. Mike he's in the studio all day. Like his brain must be mush from being in the studio all day as it is. And then coming home and having to jump on our sessions on top of like riling his kids and putting them to bed and like dealing with nanny issues and like, right? Like all that shit was going on top of what we were doing in our sessions.
Exactly. And the first one was a bit longer. It was like 2 hours. And then the other two, we were like, okay, we know we got lives. Everybody's tired. Let's try to boom, 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 not get too distracted.
Yeah.
But, three of us were already toast by the end of entering the session at the end of our day. And I think we're just delirious. And some of the sessions went past 10. They ended 10:30 maybe. So we were really pulling up our bootstraps, just trying to get this done.
Yeah. I think there was one session where you were like, guys, I'm out. I'm tired.
I was like, I'm done by like 9:30, guys. I'll see ya. To be honest, I know what I don't like more than what I know what to put in. So Justina took the reins on a lot of like, okay, I want more of this or a drum here or snare here. And I would just kind of sit very patiently and listen. And I would just say, I don't love that.
You would text me and be like, I don't know if I'm feeling that. And then, I would be the asshole and be like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if that's what we want there. And like, it's fine. Like, he's cool. Like, well, okay, we'll change it then. It's your EP. It's what you guys want. So we got to make sure now that it's perfect before we get into the studio because, and I mean, we changed some things in the studio, but like, it was like little stuff. At least the main structure was there.
And the stuff that he wasn't really getting from our mouthing, mimicking a drum, he put a note on it and said, we'll take care of this in the studio. And some of the things were like better left up to Russ and what he was able to do, just freestyling sometimes, which is really cool. And when he hit it, he fucking nailed it.
He fucking nailed it. There's like only so much you could do with MIDI, right? So if you're trying to put a really intricate, cool drum fill to build up a bridge or a chorus,
it's going to take time to do that. And we didn't have the time to do that in MIDI.
No, and like there would be no point anyway because it would just be redone by a real drummer anyway, and the real drummer is going to have that live feel a lot better. And that's fine. But like he would put like a little stupid drum fill in there just to like hold the space or note like this is where a cooler drum fill goes.
Yeah.
So the MIDI did its job. It did what it needed to do. It basically was just a blueprint and a map from start to finish of each song, like what we wanted the drummer to do, like the direction we wanted them to go. We did have some intricate things in there for it being so MIDI. And I'm really glad that Russ was able to emulate that, but make it sound better because he's a live drummer.
Totally.
Live drums are always going to sound better than MIDI.
So take me through your Friday.
Okay.
Because this time we didn't get to travel together.
I know. I'm so bummed. Yeah. So you ended up flying right into Boston. I took off on Thursday just so I could pack and get all my loose ends together. Our plan was to leave Friday morning, early afternoon. So Friday, March 29th, me and Avi, we had departed around 11:41 a.m., a little before noon. The weather was fairly nice. It was sunny and clear sky, but it was a very windy day. And I had a little bit of anxiety about all of the bridge crossings because literally a few days before that bridge in Baltimore had just collapsed. So I'm like flipping a shit. A couple days before, I'm like, all right, Avi, can you just like see if there's a way we can get there without having to cross any bridges? He's like, yeah, good luck with, it's like, good luck with that. So, I kind of just had to just like try and not pay it any mind when we're crossing a fucking bridge. But before hitting the road entirely, we went to Costco to fill up on gas. And then we went to the Walmart across the parking lot because there was a Subway line in there. Dude. Okay. So we got some sandwiches, chips, and a soda to fuel us up for the ride. Guess how much 2 sandwiches, 2 chips, and 2 drinks are at Subway? Mind you, like a little, like a 6-inch wrap.
$30.
Yeah, it was like $30-something.
It's expensive.
I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, like, you don't understand. We go to Jersey Mike's and we pay like 25-ish for a super sub. Not a 6-inch little piece of shit.
It's a rip.
I'm like, Subway, what the fuck? What do we
pull it together? No, their prices are outrageous now.
Ridiculous. So we got some Subway and then we hit the road. We got a pretty late start. I think it was a little past noon at this point when we finally got on the road. So we drove for a little bit and I think you were still home at this point or you were working or...
I'll tell you about my day. I'll tell you about my day.
All right. So around 2 p.m., Avi and I, we were fading, right? So we needed some caffeine and I had to pee really bad. So we stopped off in a little town called Kisco, New York, which is a cute little town. And on the way in, we passed by this gorgeous house that reminded me of the Owens Victorian mansion, but brown. Okay, not that beautiful white pristine Owens house. I was bummed I didn't get a pic of it because we passed by it so fast on the way in. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh my god, it looks like the Owens house, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hope we pass it on the way out, and we did. So we roll into town and we park across the street from the Starbucks, and it's like this cute little, like a little Hallmark town. It just
cute little main street.
Exactly. It was cute little main street, cute little town, right? What could go wrong? So. So we park right across the street, and we're about to cross the street. And as we're going across the street, woo, 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 fucking sirens left and right. Cops bum rushing the front of Starbucks from both sides. We're like, what the fuck is going on? We cross the street, and as we're approaching the entrance to Starbucks, the cops like bum rush the door, and there's like a crowd of people in front, like, what's going on? What's going on? We hear somebody say, he went that way, down the alley, or whatever. We're like, what the fuck?
God.
These cops are chasing this guy down an alleyway, and then there was a teenage kid standing in front, and his face was all scratched. He had blood all over him. A grown-ass man attacked a child.
Was it a child?
He was a teenager.
Okay, well, yeah.
He was like, he had to be maybe like 17. Even if he was 18, 19, like still, that's a kid. This man was a grown-ass fucking, like, he gotta be like 50.
And he ran.
And he ran, yeah. So I think there was like a side entrance to the Starbucks. So we went in the side entrance to avoid like all like the shit going on in the front. So we go in the side entrance, and now I guess the cops had gotten the guy, and now he's sitting in the chair in the front of the Starbucks. Not outside, inside Starbucks. Like this guy is sitting in the chair and
cuffed up?
Not yet, not yet. They're trying to, I guess, like get information out of him or talk to him or find some shit out. And I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because now we're inside with the perpetrator, and you don't know if this guy has a gun. You don't know what he has on him, or like some other shit's gonna go down. So I'm like, I had to pee really bad. So I start going off to the bathroom, and I see Avi standing in line, and I'm like whispering to Avi, I'm like, come here, come here. And he's like, what? And he gets pissed when I get my anxiety. He gets annoyed with me. I'm like,
that's a great way to calm me down. Thank you.
First of all, I was trying to tell you my order so I can go to the bathroom.
Oh, hon.
I told him what I wanted, and then I went to go to the bathroom, but there's like padlocks on the fucking door.
Oh, Jesus.
So I had to go back to the register anyway and tell the girl, can I use your bathroom? So she had to give me the code, and then I went to the bathroom. So by the time I get out of the bathroom, that's when I think our drinks were starting to come out, and I Marco'd you, and I was like, oh, do I have a story for you?
Yeah.
At that point, there were a couple cops standing right behind me and Avi in line, and there were like a group of girls with a little dog, and they were interviewing her or like asking her questions, I guess, about what happened. She was, I guess, a witness. And now the guy is still like sitting in the chair in the front of the Starbucks, and the cops get him up and cuff him, and now they get him out of the store. And I'm like, they fucking just arrested him. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
And they were arresting him as I was Marcoing you, and I was like, oh my God, I got a story for you. So we got our drinks, and now we go out of the store, out of the front this time, and now there's like cop cars, EMTs all over the front of the Starbucks, and the kid is sitting in the back of, I guess, the EMT, and they're like kind of like patching him up and like, you know, I guess helping him fix his face, and they threw the guy in the cuffs in the back of the one of the other cop cars. That's when like I was Marcoing you, telling you everything that just went down. And
that's insane.
Fucking bananas. I stopped off in this cute little
What did you do?
Cute little Hallmark town. What the fuck, man? Just wanted some coffee, and I just needed to pee and get some coffee.
Yeah. Nope.
Jeez, it was nuts. So we leave, and as we're leaving, I was like, Avi, can you go back past that Owen's house? He's like, yeah, I think we'll pass it on the way out. So that's when I Marcoed you, and we went past the house, and I showed you what it looked like. But it was like, you know, Marco is kind of bad quality. You can't really see. It's like kind of like pixelated when I went back.
Right. But what I could see, I was like, oh, that's a cool house.
Yeah. It was funny. We were sitting at the light when I was Marcoing you before we turned onto that road, and Avi was just like, he was done already by that point. It was only 2 p.m.
Yeah.
He was already.
You were saying, you were like, Avi's kind of cranky today.
He was cranky because there were so many trash drivers on the road. Like people just like weaving in and out, not using their blinkers, cutting people off. And it was like one after another. And like they were all out in full force that day.
Yeah.
And he was just done.
Because it was a holiday weekend.
Right.
People are trying to go to travel for family.
Exactly. Yeah, it was Easter weekend. So like all the assholes were out. Avi was done. And then on top of that, we had to deal with this bullshit at Starbucks.
I know.
So I Marcoed you. I gave you an earful of everything that just went down. And then we had turned onto that road where we passed the Owens mansion again, which by the way, of course I did a little research on it, and I found out some interesting stuff about it. Do you know how I had to find this house?
Did you go like Google Maps it?
Well, first of all, I didn't remember the name of the town we were in. Okay.
Oh God.
Avi was sleeping, so I couldn't ask him. So I went back through Marco's, and I was looking on the cop car, like what the county was.
What?
It was like Westchester County or something like that. I looked up Westchester and Starbucks in Westchester. Nothing. Couldn't find anything. I even looked at the names of the stores next to the Starbucks, Westchester County. Nothing. So I'm like, what the fuck was the name of this town? So I'm listening to the GPS while I'm talking to you on the Marco
Oh
about
my God.
what street we were on. And I type it in and it brought me to the Starbucks. But now I was like, okay, now I have to backtrack where we came from to get to that Starbucks so I can find the house. Like, you know how like you can hit the arrows in Google Map, like in the visual, like the
Drive down the
satellite?
road,
And I
basically.
just drove down the road and I kind of backtracked to like where I remembered. I took a wrong turn somewhere and then I had to go back to the beginning and I was like, okay, then it must be the other way. So then sure enough, I found it. I was trying to like zoom in on the address, but like obviously like you know how the street it tells you like what the approximate address is.
Yeah.
So I just typed in a couple addresses and like sure enough one of them popped up and it was that house. So I looked up that house and the first thing that came up was this article on New York Times.
Shut
Yeah.
up. Shut up. This is so cool. I'll let
So-
you say it and then I'll say what I'm thinking.
Okay, so this house, all right, I found this article on brownstoner.com, and first of all, I found a beautiful picture of this house, front and center. I guess this was used for one of the articles that I found. So the name of the town is Kisco, New York. The name of this article is Live the American Girl Dream in the Grand Second Empire home of doll Samantha Parkington.
That is the only American Girl doll I ever had. I still have her.
Yeah?
I still have all her shit. I love this connection. That's so cool.
Isn't that wild?
The link you have in here has a ton of pictures, like
So
interior
many.
and exterior.
So many pictures. So we'll link this in our show notes for this episode if you guys want to take a peek at the inside of this house and to see the actual outside of this house because like I said, it looks like a brown version of or like a tan version of the Owens house, right?
It's so
a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. I mean, not as grandiose. Like you don't have the whole like lighthouse at the top, but it does have a little peak up there.
You got a tower.
The
Yeah, we got
mansard
towers.
roof, right? Yeah, we got some towers going there. Nice little wraparound porch, nice little bay windows.
The inside is immaculate.
Isn't it beautiful?
God damn.
The article reads, here's a grand Second Empire style mansion in Westchester County, brimming over with 19th century charm and enough 20th century pop culture bona fides to give it some extra cachet. And this article was written by Susan DeVry on April 27th and it was published in 2018. This is speaking right to Kristina. It says, to architecture buffs, the house is a textbook example of Victorian style with mansard roofs, a tower, bay windows, a heavy bracketed cornices, there's that word, and iron cresting along the roofline. Alas, no architect has been identified as of yet. Pattern books were plentiful during this period, providing inspiration, and even architect designed plans for local builders to follow, though whether this was the case for the Mount Kisco house is not clear. And in this article, there is like a blueprint, I get, or like a map of like the area and like where the house sits. And it does also kind of like sit on, it's not a bluff. It's like, you know, it's
on a hill.
It's not a hill though. So it's like, it makes it feel even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Grandiose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the article goes on to say, what is generally agreed upon is that the house was built after the Civil War and likely around 1877, although at least one source cites in 1865 construction date. A date in the 1870s makes sense stylistically for the house and also based on the early ownership. Locally, it's known as the Carpenter House after 1870s owner Theodore Carpenter. Carpenter was there at the official beginning of Mount Kisco, serving on the first board of trustees in the newly incorporated village in 1875. While the manse is a beloved piece of local architecture, it's not the 19th century history that gets the attention, but the 20th. The house leapt into wider recognition in 1980 when it was chosen as a filming location for the movie Ragtime. It's the Milos Forman adaptation of the E.L. Doctorow book of the same name. The movie, a complicated tale with multiple characters and storylines of race, class, labor, and unrest in the early 20th century, filmed in a number of locations in Westchester County. The film crew set up at the Carpenter House for almost a month to shoot interior and exterior scenes, with the house dressed as the residence of the family of, quote, mother and father, played by Mary Steenburgen and James Olsen. Other stars of the movie included Howard E. Rollins Jr., Debbie Allen, Mandy Patinkin, Elizabeth McGovern, and James Cagney in his last film role. The crew had 90 days to prep the house, including rebuilding the porch, refinishing floors, wallpapering rooms, recreating a historic kitchen, building a gazebo, and landscaping the grounds. Patricia von Brandenstein, the art director for the U.S. portion of the filming, told the New York Times back then. After filming wrapped up, new owners moved in, and the mansion returned to life as a single-family home, although another fictional character would end up taking up residence there in the late 1980s. For American Girl doll fans who grew up immersed in the tales of the plucky turn-of-the-century orphan Samantha Parkington, the house should be instantly recognizable as the home of Samantha's grandmother, Grandmary. Samantha was one of the original history-based dolls launched by American Girl in the 1980s, with period-appropriate clothing and accessories, as well as books to go along with the dolls. Did you have the books as well?
Yeah. I had everything.
Yeah.
American Girl doll stuff, expensive.
It is. That's why I never had American Girl dolls. My mom was like, you could have Cabbage Patch dolls.
I had one. Aaron's sisters had 4, 5 of them. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, crazy. They were very expensive. The writer of the early Samantha books, Valerie Tripp, evidently grew up in Mount Kisco and used the Carpenter house as the model for Samantha's family home. This association led to a bit of a preservation scuffle in the 1990s when Pleasant Rowland, the founder of American Girl, announced plans to purchase the Carpenter house and turn it into a house museum based on the fictional character Samantha. According to a New York Times article, this was the article that I found. This was the first one that popped up when I was researching this house. The article is titled Victorian Mansion Stirs Melodrama. So in this article, the town objected to a business in a residential district, and the plan was rejected and the house stayed on the market. I don't know if they were planning on like tearing parts of it down or like redoing parts of it to be this business. I don't remember, but we will link.
I want it.
Yeah, we'll link the New York Times article if you guys want to go read that. But it says the home sold to the current owner in 1997, and it is certainly a looker with tons of original interior detail to match the grand exterior. There's over 3,600 square feet of space, and while no floor plan is included, the listing images show plenty of space for hosting tea parties, literary salons, or whatever your time travel entertainment fantasies may be. Kristina is having an orgasm over there.
I'm dying. It's so beautiful.
Isn't it? So if you are a true Samantha devotee, you might take up some needlework in the parlor for the designated hour as Grandmary insisted Samantha do. So at the time that this article was written, the house was listed for $1.6 million by David Turner of Houlihan Lawrence. And I guess, I don't know if that's the realtor.
It's so cool. Yeah. What a cool find. It's just amazing how, like, we know Victorian architecture, homes are very cut up, very closed off, all the doors for heat and keeping it cool. But these could be the picture itself. So bright. Like, I'm just in love with the parlor and the textures of the chairs and the windows, and it's just stunning. It's so pretty.
I thought you would get a kick out of that because, like, it was just a house that we passed by and I was, like, enamored with. It was like, the Owens house!
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I would find anything. I thought it was just like another residential house because I live in New Jersey, and if you go like to Westfield, Scotch Plains area, there are all those beautiful Victorian style houses. And like we went by the not the Munster. Was it the Addams Family house?
Yes.
The Addams Family house. Like that one inspired a whole comic.
We're 2 for 2.
Right? Like, I was not expecting to find anything like this when I looked that house up. I just wanted to see it again. And then when I, like, typed the address in, this was the first thing that popped up, and I was like, holy shit!
That's crazy.
I just hit a fucking gold mine here. What?
It's 3,600 square feet is big.
Yeah.
That's a big house.
It is big, and it sits on a hill, so it looks even fucking bigger than a
Right.
So I was just in awe, and I just had to show you that.
I appreciate it. Man, what a cool find, dude.
I fucking love researching shit. And, like, I wasn't even trying to research the house. I would just wanted to, like...
I just want to see it.
Well, I wanted to find a better picture of it so we could put it in our show notes so when people, when we're talking about it, people know what it looks like. Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting to find a whole, like, all this history on it and Hollywood history, American Girl history, pop culture, like crazy, right up our alley. So
yeah, fantastic.
Fascinating. So after that whole spiel, we got back on the road around, I guess it was like around a little after 2:00 because we had, gotten our Starbucks by then. We finally arrived at our hotel, the Courtyard Marriott in Waltham, around 5:30 p.m. Our room was pretty small,
compared to last time.
We were very cushy with the last time, but we were there for a lot shorter of a time, so, it wasn't as expensive. But a room the size that we had last time for a full week would have been astronomical. Mm-hmm. But it was a cozy room. Didn't it feel cozy? Like
I was perfectly fine. Yeah.
We set up our camp there. It was a king-size bed, a pull-out couch for Kristina. And Avi and I were laughing that the bathroom was probably bigger than our sleeping quarters.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we were joking that we could drag your pull-out couch into the bathroom. And also our fridge was like the tiniest shit ever. And Avi and I had brought we had some factor meals that we packed, like thinking that we'd have at least a microwave or something to heat them up. Like we didn't realize that there was a microwave in the lobby at that point. So seeing that there was no microwave, I don't even know if we bothered refrigerating those because like we wanted to make room for other things.
Yeah, I think he threw them away.
Yeah, we ended up throwing those away. So when we got into the hotel room, we settled in, we brought in our bags and stuff. I think we both laid down for like 10 or 20 minutes. We signed on to the Wi-Fi so I could look at the bistro menu because there was like a cute little lounge and bistro cafe downstairs, and I was like, we were starving by this point. We had only had like one Subway little 6-inch sandwich and a cup of coffee all day. So I was like, I need something. I wanted something refreshing. After being on the road all day, I just wanted something refreshing. So we went downstairs and I ordered a Cobb salad with this like interesting like green goddess dressing. I don't know what was in it, but the salad was slamming. It was like everything. Hard-boiled eggs, bacon, grilled chicken, tomatoes. It had like chunks of blue cheese. It was so fucking good. It was so good.
Sounds amazing.
And it was like just what I needed to just like bring me back to life. Because like I wanted to work on stuff when we first got there and get some stuff in before we had to come pick you up. But I was like, I need food. So
yeah.
After eating, Avi, he had a I think he had a grilled chicken sandwich, and we split an order of wings. By the way, their wings, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, they were good.
Perfect combination of crispy but also saucy, and the sauce didn't ruin the crispness. They were very good.
Hats off, Courtyard.
So it was very good. So we went back upstairs. Avi worked on some stuff. He had brought his laptop and did some stuff for work. I set up camp at the desk and started chiseling away at the remainder of our harmonies. I think I was trying to finish up All Hallows Eve, and I think I worked up until like 9:30 or so, and then we left to go pick you up at the airport. So I guess at this point, do you want to like go into like what your whole day was like?
Sure. Yeah.
Because we didn't travel together, so I want to know what that whole adventure
It started off with my cats throwing up at 4 in the morning, and I did not sleep until I saw you.
No.
I went to work that Friday because I knew I could not swing an extra day to fly up Thursday and fly into Newark like I did last time. And Justina, Avi, and I all drive together. It just couldn't do it. So I went to work that day, came home. I don't know why Aaron was home or if he got home early. I think he was off because I was going to be leaving that day. And I always get stressed about travel. I don't know what it is. I don't want to be late. I don't want to miss something. I don't like dealing with the crowd or TSA, people yelling at me, losing stuff.
There's a lot.
So it's just kind of a lot. So my plan was to leave early. My flight was around 7:20, something like that. I was fine leaving my house at 3 to get to the airport by 4 because it is an hour, and that's without traffic of a Friday afternoon. So I'm waiting around, and I get a update on my phone from, I think it was JetBlue. Your flight is delayed for about an hour. I was like, okay. Aaron said, now you can relax. You'll have an extra hour just to chill out. So we're piddling around the yard, looking at shit. The neighbor pulls up. I'm telling her I'm going to Boston here in a little while, but I'm just waiting around. I think it was about 4 already. And then I get another update saying, your flight is at its original time. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going now. So I got in the car, drove up. It was my first time taking my new whip anywhere like far and leaving it. So I was a little nervous about just trying to get it into the parking garage because I'm not a professional at manual driving. So I was like, I'm going to stall. It was fine. Got to the airport. I had prepaid parking online, but the prepaid thing wasn't scanning my QR code. So I was like, fuck, I had to get another ticket to get into the parking garage. I was like, I hope I am not charged twice.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to like rush to the terminal. I was like, I have tons of time. Like I got plenty of time. So I'm standing in line, get through TSA, fine. And then I can't find my phone or my wallet.
Oh my God.
And I had a little breakdown. I was like, you're fine. Because I just moved slightly out of the way of everybody else. I was like, it's between right here and right there. You'll find it. It was in my bag. It was just not where I typically put it. So I was like, oh my God, I'm sweating. And you know I sweat. I was sweating and I was nauseous and I hadn't eaten. I just got to the gate and there was like nothing. You know how sometimes you have all like the good stuff, like the good food in your space? No, I was not in that area. And everything, even the tiny ass little sandwiches that are in the plastic that have been sitting there all day, $13. I was like, I'm not doing that. So I got some nuggets from Wendy's.
Nuggets are always good.
The flight was actually like super smooth. This JetBlue flight was like, pew, no issues at all getting in there. And don't think I waited very long for you guys to come swing through, but it was fucking cold.
It was cold. And like
and windy.
I was so surprised you said it was such a smooth flight because me and Avi, we probably had more turbulence in our car than you had on your flight. It was so fucking windy that day.
Yeah, super windy. Yeah.
On top of all the shitty ass drivers on the road, like we had to deal with the wind. On top of my bridge anxiety.
I know. It was such a relief seeing you. And I think that was, I said, I will relax when I see you.
Yeah.
Because even just like the landing part is not enough to calm me down. There's getting out, getting your bag, all the Ubers, and all the people and the hustle. Did
you say you checked a bag or you just carried on?
I carried mine on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, at least you didn't have to like worry about losing a bag because they, it didn't come out of the little,
Yeah. I checked it on the way home because it was like, that was a whole nother story we'll get to. But that was my day. And then you scooped me up when you got back to the hotel.
Yeah. We picked you up
and
around.
You showed me your harmonies.
10:09 p.m. I have timestamps here.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I have timestamps. I went through my camera roll because that's the only way I would remember anything from that week because everything was just so fast and like, it was such a blur to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we scooped you up around 10:09 p.m. It was fucking freezing out. They got out, gave you a big ol' hug, and then we drove back over that. Do you remember that cool bridge? It was like all lit up at night, like Boston downtown area, I guess. I don't know what the name of that bridge is, but it's really fucking cool. But the whole time in the back of my mind, I'm like, I hope it doesn't collapse. I hope it doesn't. So we got back to the hotel. And we couldn't find a spot in the front, so we parked in the back. We lugged the remainder of like our stuff and your bags up to the second floor. Do you remember when we got out and the door just like whoosh, the wind just like almost took the fucking car door off? I'm like, holy shit! Yeah. It was freaking windy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got back into the hotel. Yeah, I showed you the harmonies that I was working on for All Hallows Eve. I don't even remember the rest of that night. Do you remember the rest of that night?
I was ready for bed.
Pass out? I think we just went. Yeah, we just turned in early because we.
Did we start watching The Circle that night, or was it the next night?
I think it was the next night. Yeah.
Okay.
So we hit the hay, I guess, early because 10 o'clock is early for me. But I know that's, way past your bedtime. But we had to get up early the next day for the studio. So I guess we all turned in early that night. So then Saturday, March 30th, the next day was studio day 1. And that day was dedicated to bass and drums. And I think I gave you, before this day, I gave you all the stuff that I brought for you from Joseph, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We contributed to Joseph's crowdfunding campaign. He just did a whole like triple deck. What is this? The Witch's Grimoire Oracle, I think. A bunch of goodies came with it, and I had a whole bunch of stuff to give Kristina from Joseph. So it was like journals.
It was a big box of stuff.
Yeah. Triple,
which I ended up using. Joseph, I used your journal for not the purpose you sent it to me for, but it was filled.
Right. I just wanted to mention that before we dive into the studio because Kristina, the whole time we were, in the studio, Kristina's taking these minutes, right? These notes.
Yeah.
Every little quote, every little funny one-liner somebody would say, or like if somebody went to go on a coffee run, she would like write all these details into this little notebook that Joseph gave her. And I'm glad you did that because otherwise I didn't want to remember any of this shit.
Did you go through and write it all in there? It looked like you like transcribed it.
No.
Okay.
No, all of these timestamps are like from my camera roll, like what was happening. Yeah.
Are you able to open the notes?
Yeah, okay, Good. So we do have a production journal PDF that Kristina was able to scan in this entire journal of our entire, what was it, like something like 5-6 day studio adventure. So we have this whole thing. I don't know if you want to dive into this. Do you want to dive into this?
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to start. Let's start with your timestamps because the first day I didn't start writing till like the second day, and the first day I was like kind of piecing it together. But like the first day, like you said, was drums and bass. All I wrote was like brownies, choke, pancakes, All Hallows Eve. See, I can't even read it. Is well at the end, one green eye, one blue, rods and sticks.
Yeah, so basically we had decided how to end one green eye, one blue. Russ ended up using...
Oh, swell. It says swell at the end.
Yeah. He did like a little bit of like a mallet swell at the end of that song, just like a little... to end the song. Very pretty stuff. I don't know. He ended up using the rods and the sticks, I think, on the first part of the song. I don't remember exactly. Daniel will return to
to complete All Hallows Eve.
Complete All Hallows Eve.
And one green eye, one blue, because he left a little early that day.
Yeah. The one thing that I didn't put in my notes, because I didn't have that on my camera roll, but you put Russ cut himself on snare, blood offering.
I didn't know you could do that. And to like cut yourself, I didn't know it would be bad enough to have a bandage. So
Yeah.
God, sorry, Russ. This wasn't added, but I put add tambourine for some reason. Phone tree, open top hat at end. Russ thinks the drums in All Hallows Eve are extra. Like there's a lyric, it says climb, climb, climb. And in between those three words, we wanted a little like roll of some kind or a filler. And he was like, okay. So he practiced it a couple times. He's like, I'm going to really have to rush through this to get it to fit in. Yeah. I like that he fit it in because I think it adds like a dimension of drive and purpose. Right. So I like that.
Yeah. And it makes that climb, climb, climb more intentional. It feels like, you know, we're emphasizing that action, which I really love. Yeah. So I'm glad he was able to do that.
Take me on your timestamps because the next thing I have is Costco run.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So 9:40 a.m. I have a video of us getting ready to that weird song by Vitas. Yeah. Totally. So we're like, I'm doing my makeup, you're like braiding your hair or whatever, and I think, I don't know, I recorded like maybe a minute of it, and then I was like, all right, that's enough of that. I just shut the camera off. I'm like, how much of this song do we actually need?
It'll all be in our behind the scenes video for everyone.
Just a bunch of randomness. By 10 a.m. we arrived back at Plaid Dog Studios. We met our drummer for the remainder of the project, Russ Sternglass, and it was great to work with Daniel Jung once again, who did the guitars and the keys on our first single, Magnolia Street. And this time he would also be playing the bass for the remaining 4 songs. So
what a revolutionary man. What do you call them? Renaissance man.
Renaissance man. He's so freaking talented. It's like he just oozes talent, and you're just like, dude, can I get some of that? Because I don't play lead guitar, and I also don't I tinker on the piano, but like I don't play like he could play, and I sure as hell don't play the bass. So like he's just so well-rounded. Like he's got it all. So this entire first day was drums and bass. So 10:51 a.m. I have a video of us picking out our Starbucks drinks so Avi could do a run already. And Russ is sound checking the drums. Mike is fiddling with knobs and buttons and knobs. Hattie, Mike's cute little dog, is already passed the fuck out on the couch.
She's already passed her gas and then she passed out.
He was passing the gas. Let me tell you.
She was a stanky dog. She's so cute though.
Her butt stank though. She's very cute. Somewhere between 11 and 11:30 a.m. we started tracking drums and bass on Brownies for Breakfast, and Russ and Daniel at this point, they were tracking simultaneously on that song, which
playing together.
Yeah, playing together, which is nice because, like, you know, that's the rhythm section. It's good for them to lock in as a rhythm section. I mean, it's fine if Daniel couldn't stay that whole day. He actually had to record some of the bass without Russ there and come back and do parts without the live drummer and just do like a track, and that's fine. It's a matter of, I guess, just maybe saving time, but maybe they were able to lock in, I guess, rhythmically a little better because they were in the same room. So by 12:56 p.m. we already started working on drums and bass for Phone Tree Day, so we probably finished drums and bass for Brownies in like an hour.
Pretty straightforward.
So it seemed like we were on schedule at this point. So by 12:56, like 1 o'clock p.m., we already started working on drums and bass for Phone Tree Day, and after Phone Tree Day, so they finished that song, and then Daniel had to leave for the day. So by 2 p.m. we started on drums for All Hallows Eve. Avi is eating a banana and Hattie is curled up next to him on the couch. Oh. So I guess between 1 and 2 p.m. we were probably working on All Hallows Eve that whole time as far as just the drums went. And then by 3 p.m. we started tracking drums for One Green Eye One Blue, and then by 4 p.m. we finished drum tracking with Russ. He rapped on drums, left the studio, and then we went back to the hotel to drop off the guitar and the studio equipment, and then around 5 p.m. we did our Costco run. And
we went to the busiest goddamn Costco on the planet.
It was so freaking busy.
It was Disneyland. Crazy.
It didn't look like a regular warehouse. It looked like an office building, right? On one side, and like it didn't look like your typical Costco. Not the ones that we have in Jersey anyway.
Right. But the plan was to be very good this trip, because last trip we were living the rock and roll lifestyle and it was not helping the digestive system. So we had a plan. We were going to be there for a week. We weren't going to eat out every night.
Yeah.
We needed groceries.
Yeah. Last time it was like a diet of pizza and Tums.
Okay. And we had like burgers one night, tacos. Right.
Yeah, I had like this big, like heavy pasta dish that one
Mm-hmm.
night, and it was just like a lot of just carb loading and bad decisions.
But
But
you had mentioned sometimes y'all have this at home, and I don't do this at home, but ever since I did this with you, that's my go-to meal for dinner.
charcuterie?
All the charcuterie.
Yeah. So we got all the charcuterie, like the meats and the cheeses, the fruits, the veggies, pita, hummus. I think the worst thing that I bought in this entire trip was the mac and cheese. They had like
Yeah.
Panera prepared mac and cheese that you could just throw in the microwave. Avi got a couple things of chicken skewers. Those were really freaking good.
Those were good.
Yeah. I mean, and I was eating them cold and
Yeah.
I don't mind cold chicken, so I thought they were delicious. Oh, those pretzels, those freaking
Those might have been the worst thing.
maybe, but they were freaking
Because in quantity, they were bad.
yeah, but they were
But you couldn't just eat one.
I know, they were amazing. So we got so many snacks, cans of soda water. I think we got the LaCroix, we got some ginger ale, and we hit up the alcohol section of Costco. We got some vodka. Avi bought a shit ton of beer
For his exchange.
for, quote, his exchange. Right, it's just sitting in our basement right now. Dude, this man, the amount of money he spends on beer, I don't know if you've noticed, because he bought all that beer at the Costco, and then like 2 nights later, he went on that like rampant that he went on his own excursion and
Side quest.
he brought back more fucking beer, and I'm just like, how much beer do you fucking need?
I'm a fan. I really like the craft ones. They're fun. They
Yeah, but
don't know what you're getting.
right, but I mean, like, he doesn't need to buy as much as he does, let's be honest. So that was like 5 p.m. We, did that whole Costco run. By 5:46 p.m., I have a video of us. We got back to the hotel. We loaded all of our groceries onto a wheelie cart and lugged it all the way up to our room. And I feel like the hotel staff were kind of giving us the bombastic side eye because they probably thought we were having this rager in our room, bringing up this cart full of stuff like.
Or they thought our relationship was very unique. Because it's just us two and Avi.
Our
And
relationship
it's a
was
big
rude.
handle of vodka and all this beer.
Yeah. So yeah, they probably thought we were having some rager up in the room. And I have a video of you in the elevator. You had your sunglasses on and you were just playing the tambourine, and Avi's just standing next to this cart full of food. It's the most random fucking clip I've ever seen in my life.
That's amazing.
Wait a minute. I need to show you this.
I felt very rock star that week.
It was fucking.
And the one guy who came out of the elevator was feeling it for me too. So I appreciate
Wait,
it.
do you remember that one guy we walked past? Oh no. I think you might have. I think this was the morning that me and Avi left. We walked past one guy who got out of the elevator and he just smelled like straight up alcohol.
Oh my God.
At like 9 o'clock in the morning. And we're like,
Damn.
fuck, what? Oh my. Yeah, so hold on. I have to find this video and show this.
Okay.
It's so
Yeah.
fucking funny. Wait. That's it. That's the whole video.
That's the Stinas.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Avi.
Yeah, and you're just
That's
jamming,
awesome.
jamming in the fucking. Look at all
Your
that
husband is a
food.
very patient person.
Look at all that food.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean,
Wait,
yeah, it was a lot for me.
did you say my husband is a very patient person?
well, with me, which
Well-
he doesn't have to be.
Listen, there are only 3 things that make my husband content. Okay, Costco. You know this, Costco.
It did seem like he was in his element there.
Costco, food, and beer.
Okay,
He
he's all
didn't
right.
have to pay for any of the hotel. He was living the rock star dream that week, okay? So really, who had it better that week? Let's just be
But
honest.
just like rewatching decisions that I made in the moment, I'm like, God, I would punch me in the like I would punch me in the throat if I was Avi.
Good times. So we got all the snacks, got shit ton of beer, and back to the hotel. Christina's jamming on the tambourine in the elevator with her sunglasses on. At 6:19 p.m., we had a marvelous cooter spread. I had a nice, pan with the camera on all of our whole setup. Kristina cut our cucumbers with her crusty, rusty pocket knife.
There's no rest. There's no rest on that thing. That was a really good spread.
Probably the best spread I've had in a long time. Just good food all around. And it was nice because it was like, I didn't feel like it was like this huge meal that weighed me down. Like I didn't feel like, how you feel after you eat a burger or like pizza, like the
Right.
last time. Like,
You could pick to your heart's content, and when you were done, you were done.
and it felt like good stuff. It was like fruit, it was veggies, it was hummus, it was pizza, it was like all that good, healthier choices, right?
Yeah.
With a little vodka on the side.
With a little vodka. We had things we had on our to-do list, but this night we just needed to rot.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
little bit.
the rot was in full force. The only thing missing was my cats.
I know.
Yeah, the rot was in full force. The hotel TV was super clutch with that Netflix login option.
Totally.
Right? So we logged into Avi's Netflix account and we had a super chill first night of Costco Cooter Buffet, wine, vodka. We binged like the first few episodes of The Circle. We were so invested, right?
I need to know what happens.
We were so invested. Me and Avi did finish the season when we got home from the trip.
Yeah.
We finished the season. I'm not.
You can tell me.
I won't spoil for you. Do you know who won?
I don't have Netflix anymore.
Okay, so attention everybody, if you were planning
We'll just bleep it.
Yeah, if you're planning on watching The Circle, I don't even remember what season.
Season 5.
Season 5. Spoiler warning. I'm going to tell you who wins right now. In 3, 2, 1. It was that chick from Brooklyn. What was her name?
Really?
Yeah, she won. She won.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What was her name?
I don't fucking remember.
I love it. That's awesome.
The one that I kept saying reminded me of my friend Mel.
She was my favorite.
Yeah, she was a really tough chick from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
She was fucking awesome. I was hoping she won the entire time. But remember she almost got kicked out on that first episode. She almost got kicked out.
Oh, she was my favorite.
She ended up
she was sliding her little feet in her little big puffy slippers in the morning.
Yeah.
She was like, chancla.
I was rooting for her. I'm so happy she won.
Me too.
So yeah, we just were fully invested in The Circle, and this was Saturday, right? But for some reason, I don't know why. I think my family, this was Easter weekend. I think my family got together on the Saturday because I remember Avi sending pictures to my godfather Mark while we were like, in the hotel, and he was like, "You bums!" Like he was kind of salty that we were missing Easter because we're his favorite cousins, so he likes to hang out with us, and when we're not there, he's just bored.
He lets you know.
He lets us know, yeah. So Avi was sending him pictures, pretending to like chug the whiskey, and he was like feeding himself grapes on like the
on the bed. He was lounged on the bed.
He was like lounging so hard, and Mark was just like, "You guys are assholes."
Assholes.
Yeah, and he was stuck with
some
like,
of our listeners know Mark from our Salem trip.
Oh right, yeah, that's right.
Listeners. Same man.
Yeah, he's a celebrity over here on Magnolia Street.
Yeah.
So then I think we just like hit the hay after binging The Circle for the rest of the night. I just needed a break because I think that entire week prior, leading up to the trip, I was working on harmonies like hardcore, and I was even working on them up until we picked you up at the airport. My mind needed a break at this point. I knew I needed to like finish them, but my brain was just on overload. I was like, this rot sesh feels nice right now. I'm just gonna enjoy it. I'm glad we did that. I'm really glad we did that.
Yeah.
We were supposed to record a couple episodes and like we're like, fuck that.
Yeah, no. We were there. What you said is like we needed to focus on the music, and I'm so glad we did because we had quite a few things that we could have gotten done, but you know what? We know they're gonna be just fine.
I'm kind of glad that we decided to focus on the music and not record those episodes because by the last day of recording, because like we recorded vocals for like 3 days. Well, I was in the studio for a third day. Well, it was a chunk of a morning, but 3 days of like putting that much strain on your vocals to talk and do like a 3-hour episode like we normally talk for like 3 hours to record these episodes, my voice would have been gone. I don't know if I would have even been able to record the rest of those vocals if we had done episode recording.
It was just so much more. Even though we were there for less time the first time and fit in like going to the Wayside Inn, and we recorded an episode and we went out to dinner, and then the last day we went to Salem. For some reason, even though we had more time this time, we had to work on perks, which we'll get to. We had to sign stuff and label stuff, and it was a lot. Even without doing any more vocal stuff, we had plenty on our plate. But Sunday morning, I was like, I'm gonna bring my gym stuff. I want to feel active because I will sit on my ass. So I went to the gym Saturday and Sunday morning, but Saturday morning, and I think Avi went down that day too. On the way back to the room, I was like, oh, continental breakfast. Oh. It was like a conference room that was not, it wasn't a conference room. It was a room that was open. It had tables and a full like continental breakfast. So I went in and sat my ass down and ate. And then I finished up. I'm walking down the hall back toward the stairs, and I turn around and I see Avi exiting the gym and coming my way. So I went back into that room because he peeked in, and I went back after him. Yeah. And he's like, "Is this for us?" I was like, "Who would it be for?" Yeah. But Sunday after the gym, that wasn't there. It was not for us. It was for some meeting that morning, Saturday morning, and I was bummed that like I wasn't getting my eggs and bacon and bagels and my oatmeal.
So wait, let's just get this clear, okay? So
Food thieving is my thing.
Kristina has stolen food at both hotels now. I don't know if you guys listened to our Boston recap the first trip, but this girl went down to the hotel lobby, saw that little store section that, you know, like your hotels have a store with like food and like little provisions. She comes back up with an armful of like Kraft mac and cheese, beefaroni. I don't know what the fuck you came upstairs with, but we were like, pretty sure you had to pay for that. She's like, well, I didn't. I don't even think they charged that shit to the room. Like, I don't even think we got billed for it.
Very nice.
Oh my god. Oh,
so anyway, it was like a good little routine in the morning, and like it's hard with 3 people, 1 bathroom, but I think we had a good rotation and everybody was ready to go. It looked like your timestamp is like 9:40, so we were getting ready to hit the road again.
Everybody was kind of, yeah, like we were all on kind of our own time clock, which is fine. Like you and Avi are early risers. Like you go, you work out, you do your thing. I just need to like lay in bed and rot.
You need a quiet morning.
I do need a quiet morning. My mornings are very slow. I need to sit in the bathroom on the toilet for a half an hour. And I was like, yes, they're gone. I can go poop. So I just went in there and took a big old poop.
But listen, those hotel doors are the loudest motherfucking doors. You can open them as quiet as possible.
Yeah.
But as soon as you step out into that hallway, like they close like World War III is happening.
Oh my god.
So I was like, I hope they're not awake. Ran downstairs.
I fucking slept through that shit.
Good.
But I was able to, you know, get up, get ready, and get everything situated for the studio. That brings us to Sunday, March 31st. This was Easter Sunday. We were in the studio. This day kind of encompassed acoustic guitars, bass, and leads. So I'm up at the plate with the acoustic, and then Daniel had to come back to finish bass and start on the leads. So at 9:39 a.m., we took this picture, and I have this caption: "The road is fucking tough." Look at us.
Very cute photo.
Sitting on the couch. This is Kristina's pull-out sofa bed that we're sitting on with my guitar case right before we went to the studio.
I'm in triple denim.
Triple denim!
I like that photo a lot. I have some notes from day 2 because I was writing as you were in the booth. So let's get to the studio. So we head out 9:45 to get there by 10. Daniel was coming later. We stopped at the ice machine for Ivy to load up the cooler pack because we were like, we have all the charcuterie. They don't take breaks at Plaid Dog. There's no like, let's take an hour for lunch.
No break.
So we brought things to snack on.
You know why? Because Mike, he's got a little stockpile in the fridge because like that's his home base or whatever, his home away from home probably. So he literally eats while he's working. He has to multitask because he's on the clock. Like he's using his client's time. He can't take breaks. So because he can't take breaks, we can't take breaks. So literally, I was going like all day with mostly like just like eating a banana or having like a little bit of pretzels or a little pita and hummus here and there, like getting it in where I can. It's work mode, right?
It is work mode.
Yeah.
And we started around 10:20. You started tracking acoustics for Phone Tree Day. And the notes I have, I'm not going to say all of them because some stuff just doesn't pertain. But you ended up using 2 different picks for 2 different sounds.
Right.
And doubled both of those. I wrote, it really takes off at the bridge. I wrote down that I started tearing up imagining this on stage. I guess Phone Tree Day.
Yeah.
It said it's sounding so good. And I said it took about an hour. There's a few adjustments on sustaining arpeggios and intensity, but that was it. And then we moved into brownies for breakfast at that point.
Yeah. So the double pick thing. So he had me play first with, I had this like white Kiss pick. It literally has the band Kiss on it. Like one of my cousins gave it to me at like a family pool party or whatever. I should tell my mom to tell her cousin that I used the pick he gave me on album recording. I'm sure he get a kick out of that. So I used this Kiss pick. It was a little bit of a thicker gauge. It just gave the strings like a little bit more of the force that they needed to come through really crisp and clean. And then Mike had me go back and use one of those red like light gauge. It might have been like a 10 gauge like Tortex pick, very bendy, very flexible, just to fill out the sound because I feel like you get more of like a reverberating, like the strings vibrate more and you get more of that like ambiance sound out of a thinner pick. So he had me do both to kind of just fill in the space. So you get that really clean sound with the Kiss, the thicker pick, but then you get that ambiance with the thinner pick.
I
So,
love that. That's
yeah.
such a cool touch for that.
Isn't it? Very cool. I think I'm going to use that method from now on, like recording my acoustic guitars. I have never thought to do that before. And I'm always like, why does my acoustic guitar always sound like shit when I record it? Well, gee, because maybe I need to fucking layer shit more. And it just sounds amazing.
That's going to be fun because there's many different weights of picks.
So that was cool. I thought that was fascinating that he told me to do that.
Yeah. I think this was the only song you did that. No, you did this for another song also. I might have written it down. Yeah, but after you did this was pretty fast. We moved into Brownies for Breakfast and you were focusing on like pauses for emphasis. Again, using using the soft and medium pick for variety. You were adjusting your chugging and strumming pattern and you were saying your knee was tight at this point. And then you showed me your little fingers and you said, check out these nasties. Honey.
Yeah.
Because at that point you're playing for a good almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I was playing for a while at that point. My fingers were just like, I think I have a picture of my fingers, which we could put to our show notes, but wait, let me see if I find it.
While you find that, we were also talking at this time about whether or not you should have had new strings on the guitar for this session, and Mike was telling us why that was not a good idea, right? Do you want to tell us that real quick? Oh, yeah, those are nasty.
My fingers. Yeah.
Wow.
Avi was saying before we went into the studio, or actually when we were there, I don't remember, but he was saying, I should have changed the strings on your guitar before we got here. And then Avi left the room for some reason, and I was asking Mike, I was like, would it have been a good idea for me to change the strings before we recorded? And he was actually, he was like, no, because new strings are just way too bouncy. They need you got to break them in a little bit, right? So
it was actually, like some shoes, like good pair of shoes.
It was actually good that we didn't end up putting new strings on right before recording. So it all worked out. But there was a point where, what song was it? There was a point where you had to come in and help me hold down an F minor chord.
I have it written in here somewhere.
Okay.
So when we get there, I'll let you know.
All right. So yeah, 1:49 p.m. I put giving my little phalanges a break while Mike fixes my horrible arpeggios. Oh, because at around 1:30 p.m. we were working on acoustic guitars for One Green Eye, One Blue. And that entire song is like arpeggio after arpeggio.
That must have been it.
Yeah. So basically, for those who don't know, an arpeggio, I don't know if I could explain this correctly, but an arpeggio is basically like you hit one string at a time in like kind of like a descending pattern. Or it could be ascending too. It depends on like, what you're playing. But it's basically like one note after another, like a group of notes one after another. So I had to hit and make sure each of those strings was crisp and clear. Yes. And he was having me do each one like a couple times over, just focusing on sometimes just the one string. So he could kind of like piece them all together. I'm like, yeah, I suck at arpeggios. Let me write a whole fucking song of that.
That's how you get better.
Or Mike had to string it all together. No pun intended.
I think you sounded amazing. So we ended up getting donkeys, but before that, I have a note that we brought the heater in. That studio was fucking cold. That studio was cold.
It was cold.
So you cranked on the little space heater there in the booth where you were playing. Because that, like, cold hands playing a guitar just does not work.
No. Like, my leg was starting to cramp up. My fingers were starting to, get all blistery and gross. And on top of that, trying to keep the control and the right amount of pressure on my pick and trying to hit the right notes. It was a lot. And it was fucking cold in there. So yeah, he had that little space here that was, I don't know if it was doing anything.
I'm sorry. It must have been cold.
It was cold in there.
And then I said Fergie flipping on the Today Show energy for that day.
Yeah, I think we stopped at one point so you could show Mike that video and he was like, what the hell?
What the fuck? Yeah. But I'm trying to find, because I'm talking about your arpeggios a little bit. I'm talking about you changing a certain things, punching in, finding the right tension, trying to get rid of the buzz on the F chord that you were trying to work on.
So the F minor chord, that chord, I think it was in the One Green Eye, One Blue, because my fingers were getting so tired from like arpeggio after arpeggio. So I was having trouble. I guess my hand strength, I don't have the best hand strength. So when I was doing the bar chord on the F minor, the bottom of my pointer finger, that is my bar finger, I wasn't able to press it down all the way on the very last, the high E string on the guitar. So you kept getting that like little like tinny sound or like that buzzing that resonates after, because I wasn't hitting it down. And it sounded like a dead note. Like it wasn't just ringing out. It was dead. So Kristina had to come into the booth and press the bottom of my finger down on the string so we could get a clean ring out sound of that string. So thank you for that.
Oh my gosh, it's not even a surprise your hands were getting tired by that point. I just put F minor sucks. That's all I wrote down.
F minor sucks after, having to record it for a few hours. 1:55 p.m. You and Avi started breaking out the snacky snacks. A little bit before that, I guess Daniel was on his way. So me tracking the acoustic guitar for All Hallows Eve had to wait until a little later. So that was the only song that I did not finish the acoustics for in that little chunk of time, which I think One Green Eye, One Blue, all the arpeggio stuff probably took up most of that time. So we started, I think, maybe running a little bit behind at that point. At 2 p.m., Daniel back into his house to slap at the bass, and him and Mike, they were working on getting tones for about 20 minutes or so, because the next clip I have on my phone is from 2:30 p.m., and he had already gotten started on tracking bass for One Green Eye, One Blue. And then you and Avi were like backup dancing on the couch. You were doing the little, the shoe ups.
Yeah. Each song has a different tone, which takes time to set up with each instrument, which is a test of patience. When you're so excited to hear the thing and to hear the artist using their tool, and like, I just wanted to hear the goddamn thing. Yeah. But the sound that they ended up on for at least One Green Eye, One Blue, which by the way, Mike calls green eyes, which I wrote down. He's like, okay, we're going to do green eyes now.
Heterochromia. Yeah.
Heterochromia.
So they had to spend a little time getting the tones and stuff. Let's see. So I have 2:30. So he showed up at 2, and then by 2:30 he started tracking. So it took him about a half an hour to get those tones.
By 3 o'clock, I have written down internal thoughts. I hope we have time for everything. Because I thought we were only there till 4 o'clock that day. And then later, I realized we were there till 6. But even then, I was like, oh, that's kind of a lot to do. And then I wrote, quote, magical touch, add slide.
A lot to squish into one day. Yeah. So around 3:20, Daniel started tracking the bass for All Hallows Eve. After that, the bass tracking is wrapped because, mind you, he had to come back to finish the bass. So that also put us behind, because if he had stayed that first day till the end with Russ and tracked the bass simultaneously on those other 2 songs like he did for the first 2, we would have had bass and drums done for that day. So that put us a little bit behind, because now he had to finish the bass. So that took up a little bit of a portion of that day, which was supposed to be started on lead guitars already by that point. So that kind of sucked, but it is what it is. But by 3 o'clock, the bass was wrapped. And then by 4, he broke out the lead guitar. And then you guys started doing like a little La Bamba jam.
Oh yeah, we warmed up with La Bamba.
Yeah, he was warming up with the La Bamba. And then he started the lead guitars on Phone Tree Day. And he was killing it with those early 2000s arpeggios, straight up making us sound like a Michelle Branch banger.
Oh my God. So amazing.
And I put, Kristina might be crying. Because he broke out the lead, he brought out the lead guitar.
He's just an artist. He's an artisan. It's amazing. Before 4:42, I wrote, in quotes, balance out the MIDI part, MD of playing with different rhythm patterns and notes. I don't know what I wrote that for. I think I wanted to remember balance out the meaty part.
Oh, meaty.
What does that mean? What does balance out the meaty part mean?
Yeah, MD. Oh, okay, wait.
Mike Davidson said that.
Yeah, Mike Davidson, but weren't we also calling him like a doctor or like doctoring like stuff? And he's like, yeah. MD, and like, get it? I'm like,
it went pew over my head.
Davidson, doctor, got it.
Yeah.
You have Z's here. I don't know. Were you falling asleep?
I was falling asleep.
4:42 p.m. Z. Kristina puts. Yeah.
I was falling asleep.
I think that was it for that day.
Yeah, you have at 5:30 slide guitar, the solo bridge, instrumental, and Phone Tree Day we put down, and then 6 o'clock we were done.
Yeah, we wrapped around 6 o'clock.
Oh wait, I have a note pre 5 o'clock. I said adding reverb and small touches. Mike must have said, that extra note, that was dope. That's it. Just the extra note, that was dope.
Oh, this wasn't the day where we were laughing about the snacks, right? When Daniel was like, "What are snacks?" Was this?
No,
that's the next. That's the next day. Yeah. Okay, yeah, all of these days have just blurred into one to me because we were there like.
I have 5 o'clock, bridge and solo, adding palm mute to rhythm of solo part, listening through and deciding if or if not to add palm mute. Mike jokes adding record scratches in. And I have a high butt crack, quote, low-rise jeans don't work for me. I must have said that. I have a high butt crack because we were talking about the 90s and I was like, the fashion's not so great. And you were like, I love the fashion. I said, I don't like low-rise jeans because I have a high butt crack. And you're like, I love them.
And then after that, you said breaking out the slide. What is this? Bow, 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 doubling it to get weird up in here. What? Oh, and then this next page on the right-hand side.
I want 2 notes on the initial slide to ring out more, which he did. Faith Hill style, Jillian's Southern girl influence was thrown in there a little bit with some country-esque. We were channeling Oasis at that time. Don't Look Back in Anger.
Yeah, I mentioned that song. I think there was a slide. I don't know if that's the song that Mike was talking about, but that was the song that I was hearing in my head. But I think he was talking about another song. I don't know if it was Champagne Supernova, like like the lead solo in that song.
You guys are so much more versed.
I think he was trying to get Daniel to channel something like that. And then Mike asked Daniel if he could show him on the guitar. So Mike had the guitar and he was kind of demonstrate. And
That's kind of cool. We haven't seen him do that.
Right.
He grabbed the guitar and started doing that.
So then he doubled that final solo lick on that song. Oh yeah. So then he punched in on like an intro arpeggio. This is all like a bunch of technical talk for anybody listening. Doesn't know what it means.
At some point I realized I was probably not spelling arpeggio right. So I just started abbreviating it.
Arpeg. Yeah.
Arpeg. That says 6 o'clock, but it looks like I have notes for like harmonies for Green Eye Sunday night. This must have been notes about our evening, and then I had made a list of like, okay, here's some of the shit we have to get done. Here's what I was hoping you would do. Maybe what we could do Tuesday, and this kind of fell apart. The only thing we really truly needed to do was focus on the music and make sure we separated our perks for mailing purposes.
Yeah, you have here PM harmonies and record blood episode number 2. And we didn't do well. We worked on the harmonies, right? But yeah, we didn't even attempt to.
We didn't work on harmonies till Tuesday night.
Oh shit.
Yeah, because I left Wednesday.
Right. So okay, so 6 o'clock, studio wrapped. By 6:46 p.m., we were back at the hotel. I set up my computer to continue working on harmonies. I think I started trying to finish All Hallows Eve, maybe.
Was that the night where he asked you to send him? You had to like separate things to send him?
He requested me to send him the harmonies because he would need them for when we were gonna do the vocals, just to see like how I laid the harmonies out and stuff. So I set up my computer to continue working on harmonies. You got out the perks and you started autographing posters and thank you cards. And then Mike texted us at this point to inform us, I have this on camera, he texted us to inform us that we're a little behind in production. Guitar tracking took a bit more time than we had anticipated, so as a result, the fiddle player that was supposed to be later that week, a live session, has now been canceled and will be a remote session at a later date, which we were really bummed about. But at the end of the day, if that just meant us being able to finish our vocals and all the guitars and laying down the basic stuff, it is what it is. I was just really more concerned with getting the basic instrumentation done.
Totally.
And especially vocals, since, we can't be there all the time and we don't have the same setup, like studio setup as Mike. So the quality would not be consistent if we didn't finish the vocals then and there. So that was first and foremost. And I was like, if the fiddle player is going to eat into vocal time, I'd rather take the vocal time and do the fiddle remotely. That's fine.
Right.
It was just kind of a bummer that we didn't get to meet her. We didn't get to film in the studio with her. And that would have been cool to have video footage of, but just got to roll with the punches.
That's show business.
It is what it is. Yeah. So I have 7:15. We practice our autographs. I have us on camera, both like practicing how we're going to sign our posters. And then you continue to sign posters and weigh in on the input and giving harmony ideas while I laid them down on the track. And I think by that point, we started working on One Green Eye, One Blue, and doing like all the little doo-woppy kind of stuff, or at least started on it. We probably had charcuterie again that night for dinner. Oh, I think I heated up mac and cheese and chicken skewers that night.
Okay.
And you and Avi, you guys were binging The Circle over my head because the TV was over my head, and I continued to work harmonies underneath the TV. Yeah. So you guys were full rot, and I was like full on work mode, just wanting to get these damn harmonies done because that just was like weighing on me.
No.
It was like a balance of like trying to finish stuff and knowing that like I had this obligation, like I had to finish it, but at the same time so exhausted, knowing that I need to rest my voice because vocals were in a couple days. And even though I'm like this and like I'm doing like harmonies lightly, it's still like my vocal muscles are getting, they're getting fatigued. So just that constant like figuring out harmonies and like using my voice to do that, I was a little worried that my voice was going to be a little tired for the
Mm-hmm.
studio. And it was. I mean, I pulled through and, a lot of tea and
You were incredible. I was blown out of the water
my word.
watching you.
And that was even before we even got in the studio to do
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just
this was the end of the second day. So there was another full day of music. Vocals wasn't until Wednesday, and you continued on Thursday also.
well, vocals started on Tuesday. Lead guitars started Monday, April 1st. Studio day 3. I have lead guitars.
Yep.
8:38 a.m. So I wrote, I just want to poop and take a shower, but Kristina made me sign a million thank you cards.
What a bitch. So it was both you and Avi had to shower. And I was like, Avi, go shower first. And when he's done, you go. But in that time, I was like, you're not even opening your eyes. Put this pen up your ass and sign these goddamn posters.
Yeah, you guys, I signed your cards and posters with my asshole, just so you know. So you were Marcoing Lori while I signed all the cards, and I think we also listened to a rough of Phone Tree Day that Mike had added to our Dropbox, which like blew my fucking mind that this guy was able to do a rough mix that quickly, because that means after our studio session ended at 6 o'clock, he went home and probably worked on that till later in the night to when he sent that to us to listen to, and everything just sounded like fucking amazing.
Fucking awesome.
And that was just a rough. That wasn't even like, we didn't even really tell him to adjust anything. Like that was like hot off the
impressive
press. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We were just blown away. Yeah, we listened to that, had a couple like little notes on it that we wanted like a little extra like guitar licks in the beginning and stuff like that. And that was 8:38 a.m. And by 10 a.m. we were already back at the studio. By 10:15 a.m. Daniel already started to continue on the lead guitars for Phone Tree Day. Mind you, we had worked on Phone Tree Day, I think, a majority of the prior day, and he still was not finished doing stuff on that. So we had to wrap that up. And then by 11:25 a.m., I was signing posters for our campaign donors while Daniel got started on lead guitars for Brownies for Breakfast.
So jumping back, though, to Phone Tree Day, I have written down, so Daniel, king of fashion, showed up in this yellow jacket, and we were calling him Colonel Dan, right, in the studio. And then Avi said with the axe, because he was playing guitar that day. But you had said, we were listening to Phone Tree Day, and the licks that he was doing, I guess at the beginning, sounded too much like keys. And we were like, we want more sliders and bendies.
That's right.
And you were like, that sounds like drugs. But we wanted more loose, like not so staccato stuff, I guess. He asked, we'll restart, but he was asking about the snake tattoo, and that's why I drew the snake.
Oh, all right. Yeah, let's restart real quick. Hey, little witches! The Stinas here. If you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you would know how much we love using the Practical Magic Inner Witch Oracle deck by Grounded by the Moon.
And now we want to share the magic of Grounded by the Moon with you, our listeners. Joseph Benitez Egerton, the creator behind Grounded by the Moon, would like to offer this very special 10% off discount to all who wish to experience the magic of his Practical Magic themed tarot and oracle decks.
But that's not all. He also creates other divination tools like tarot workbooks, deck bags and altar cloths, pendulum kits, oil blends, cleansing sprays, smoke wands, teas, and ritual kits.
And let's not forget about his custom handcrafted all-natural soy candles, where every candle is hand-poured and personally infused and charged under the light of the moon. They even come with a crystal.
And did we mention all of the ingredients in the candles are ethically sourced?
All of Joseph's offerings are just so magical. So go visit groundedbythemoon.com and use the coupon code Magnolia Magic for 10% off your entire order at checkout.
That's MAGNOLIA MAGIC. So get your discount today.
This is Jimmy Angelo. I feel very into the Stinas right now, and you are listening to Magnolia Street Podcast.
So yeah, I'm glad you took all these minutes because I completely forgot a lot of these little details. Yeah, he asked about the snake tattoo lyric in our song Phone Tree Day and what that all meant, and we had to kind of explain to him the premise of that scene in the movie and, what the deal was with, Jillian and her snake tattoo and like the townspeople and all the gossip and all that stuff. Yeah, I still don't think Mike has watched this.
I don't think so either. So this, I think, was still Phone Tree Day at the time because it's Jillian's song. That's where the lyric is. But I wrote down Jillian needs to kick the door down in this intro. And that's what it feels like because you just like, boom, you come in so ready to start
some shit.
drama. Yeah,
Start some
that's
shit.
what I was picking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on this first page? Yeah, so Kristina drew a cute little snake going along down the side of this page.
Mike said to add some sneaky candy in the pre-chorus, I guess.
Yeah, sneaky candy. I
And
guess
then,
like, you know, like some cool little treats for the ears.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then at 11, we started on brownies for breakfast.
Yeah, coming in hot. Solo with the slide, you put.
Yeah, we started signing posters for the campaign. We brought the posters to the studio, which was pretty rock and roll. We were like signing while Daniel was doing his thing, Mike was doing his thing. And Dan had a really interesting story at this point. He told us that there are 3 different people at Plaid Dog that make the same joke.
That's
and
right.
to each of them, he goes, nice one. And they all take the credit like it's their joke. And he's done that to all of them to see if any of them will fess up. I'm like, oh, I heard it from so-and-so. But he just goes, nice one. That was so funny.
Do you remember what the joke was, though?
No.
I think I remember. Yeah, I remember. Okay, so the joke was that every time like they had to double a take, Mike would go, okay, now Michael Dublé it.
Michael Dublé it. That's what it was. We started talking about like wordplay.
Yeah.
And they all say that. And he's like, nice one.
Nice one. Yeah.
You also use Gary Busey.
Oh yeah. We were talking about wordplay, and then I was telling you. Wait, I think Gary Busey came up somehow, and I was like, oh, me and Avi call each other Gary Busey when one of us is like annoying each other. Like,
Yeah. I had a Gary Busey, like connected to darts. We just kept talking about like all these like wordplay things. They were so fun.
Yeah.
They're really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justina and I are, by the way, bouncing back and forth between 2 different sets of timelines here of the day.
Yeah,
and
I was going through my camera roll, but then for what I don't have in my camera roll, you have written down in our studio notebook here. I put 11:59 a.m., pretty much noon. Avi gives a heartfelt lip sync performance. Kristina shows us her studio minutes in the notebook I brought her that Joseph of Grounded by the Moon sent us. 12:55 p.m., Daniel rocking out the end of Brownies for Breakfast. 1:06 p.m., Daniel finally replacing my horrible kazoo lead guitar solo in the and then with that line, you actually mentioned that the lead line is too redundant. So then Mike suggested like a call and response type of deal to break it up and make it more interesting. And that was a great solution, and we all loved it. And I love how that bounced back and forth sound.
I think that was Avi's idea.
Was it?
On a different day. And he mentioned it. I was like, that would be really cool. But before we get into that, a few things that happened, I guess at noon, we were adding melody to the pre-verse 1, I think, of the song. And I think you said this sounds like iced coffee and magic.
What?
And then there was a dropout, breakdown, and Mike said, it's just a little guy. It's just a little breakdown. And the delay rang out. Avi suggests going for more. Oh, this must have been One Green, I Went Blue, because Avi was like, we want it wet. We want it dripping wet sound from this guitar. Lots of reverb and echo and all that shit.
That's right.
And 12:20, I left a pee and left you with my notebook.
Oh,
said, la 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 la, these are my notes. That's what you wrote.
Because you said, here, you gave me the notebook and you were like, here, you're in charge of the notes.
Yeah.
So I wrote, 12:20 p.m. Kristina has to pee, smiley face, leaves Jay in charge of the notes, la 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 la, these are my notes.
Yeah. Patty giving kisses and Dutch ovens.
Oh,
she was just hotboxing us in that.
And I'm ripped.
Face.
Yeah.
I was saying I would never remember all the changes that we were giving Daniel. So he had a general layout of how the song was going to go on the lead guitar. And we were changing things here and there. He wasn't writing down any of these changes, but he could play that shit through and pop in those changes perfectly.
Yep.
Almost every time.
Yeah.
It was incredible. My brain would shut down.
Effortless.
Yeah.
Effortless for him.
Mike's brain is twerking. Keep the Captain Crunch. I don't know what that was about.
Oh, because I think he was like adding some like crunch to the guitar, and I was
Nice. Adding higher octave with whammy. K. It's like a galaxy.
Like
Justina. Aurora Borealis. Mike, is that Primus or something? Dan is just noodling. Dan says, it's jazz, dude.
There's so much going on in that conversation. It's jazz, dude. It's fucking awesome.
This is still all before 1 o'clock. Okay, we're getting to the solo, I guess. We added some like siren song vibes, I guess, in that section. We all Owen Wilson wowed at the same time.
Oh, so he suggested that, and we were all like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Carried to the end of the song, raising harder lead by an octave. Mike asks to lighten the tone also.
Low take plus higher octave layered punching. Alt center structure from Avi.
What? What does any of this mean?
I don't know. You had said, because there's a little bit of like double slide going on in that song, and you referenced the George Harrison song, My Sweet Lord, which was such a cool pull.
Yeah, in the inception of writing this song, I always heard that guitar solo in my head like it was pulled from that Harrison song. Like I was just hearing that really like like, you know, my horrible kazoo. So I put that on there just to, you know, hold the reference. And I was so relieved when Daniel finally put that on there, because the entire time, every single time we had to play back that part of the song, we had to listen to that horrible me singing the line. And it was, every time I would just cringe and I'm like, oh God, why did I put that on there?
It's almost startling now to hear it in the call and response way we have it, because I'm like, I'm used to just doing your kazoo as the solo.
Yeah.
But as I trust Daniel with the slide, like my life depends on it. He's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, he made me cry the first time around using that amazing technique.
Yeah.
But this is where we started working on the solo, was around 1:00. And I know you were just like filling in that portion of the song, like this is where the solo is going to go. And initially the like 8 notes repeated the second time around, and then they were slightly different the third time around. And I was like, we need something like a note different on that second time. But what Justina said Daniel ended up doing was there's a little section at the end, like that Oasis feel. It almost sounds like 2 different guitars talking to each other, which then was what we decided to use as the solo.
Yeah, it definitely broke it up a little bit, so it wasn't as like you said, it was a little redundant. So I'm glad that we came up with something that sounded way cooler than what I initially came up with.
Yeah, it was your like original lick, and then what I wrote down, it was the end melody but in a higher octave, and then the original lick again. So your stuff was still in there, it just had a little bit of space in the middle.
Yeah, they only changed like the little middle section, which was really cool.
I said, everybody's so creative.
Everybody's so creative. Yeah, I feel like that was like a joint effort. Like all of our brains were in on that one, kind of like ping ponging ideas back and forth. Like, all right, well, how would it sound if we did this? And then we arrived at the spot where we were all like, yep, that's it. That's the stuff.
That's the good stuff. Impeccable.
That's the good stuff right there.
Yeah.
So 2:36, between 2:36 and 3:30 p.m. on this day. So electric guitars started on One Green Eye, One Blue. So do you have notes here for that?
Yeah, we started with some references, Until I Found You by Steve Sanchez, which we listened to on the way over, just for that like old school watery sound, and then a song on our Signature Sounds playlist, which is something you use, but Mike also suggested having, were songs we wanted the same vibe of, and Megan Trainor's song What If I was one of those songs. We were thinking the watery 1950s doo-wop, like It's Time for Prom, Poodle Skirts.
For sure.
So you had a series of walk downs in there, which were so beautiful. And it was giving me Richie Valens, O'Donna feels. That's just my jam. I loved it so much. I said, the Marty McFly band is tight. They've been practicing. I think I'm hilarious in these notes. I was just writing down. So Daniel and Mike were fiddling around with the pedals.
Yeah.
I was just writing down the shit they were saying.
By the way, this probably means nothing to anybody, but Kristina's fascinated by it all. She wrote everything down. I don't even know what half this stuff means, because, you know, you sit there a whole day and it's just like, you know, musician's gonna do what musician's gonna do. Yeah. And you don't even pay them mind to, like, you know, their lingo and like the words they use to describe these sounds that they're looking for out of these pedals. And it's just, I'm glad you wrote it all down, because it's like you are taking a peek into Mike and Daniel's brain and the way that they communicate with each other. And it is just fascinating.
Amazing. Right? They could say everything. They could say nothing and say everything to each other. It was cool. I hope we kind of have that similar work style. But it was really interesting that he was like, you know, just do like a little bit more of that. Yeah. And Daniel was like, I got you.
He goes, yeah, like you said, like, give me a little more candy. And Daniel's like, all right.
Yep.
Like, what kind of candy we talking? Like, you know, you want some Good and Plenty or Snickers?
Are we snorting some pixie sticks? Or one of the things, maybe you know what this term is. I wrote it down because Mike said goose egg, bigger and doubled. I'm like, what the fuck's a goose egg?
Goose egg. Yeah.
I think that's what he said. I don't know what it meant though.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. That must be something that only they can understand.
Yeah.
That's their language. Oh, and then we put take 2, increase gain, take 3, adding SpongeBob, step up.
That's right. That's right.
So the SpongeBob is that little like that watery sound kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like essential for any kind of like, I guess, 50s themed doo-wop song. There's a little SpongeBobby sounds in it, you know?
Yeah, surfer. It's almost border surfer rock.
Yes. Rockabilly, right? That's that
Yeah.
time period. So take 4, changing pick for doubling, ad-libbing, surprise. What? What's it say?
Punchy chords?
Oh, surprise punchy chords. Yeah, so I guess he also uses the pick change up method to get different sounds out of the strings for different vibes. It says leave enough space for Jesus, kids.
Like when you're at a school dance, or at least Catholic school, you had to arm straight when you're dancing.
I think what Kristina was trying to say here was like, we wanted it to just emulate, just drip that 50s ballad, doo-wop-y kind of school prom type of sound. But
Absolutely.
you can't have that prom dance unless you got the space for Jesus.
That's right. That's right.
In between, right?
Yeah. Verse 1, Mike said, keep it mellow, bruh, and just moved on. Held chord ring, 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 pulled back compared to other verses. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, we're getting to the snacks. We're getting to the snacks.
Yeah, you go ahead and tell this fucking story.
All right. So we got these, the pretzels that we talked about earlier. These
They're
pretzels.
seasoned from Costco.
I don't know what they're seasoned with crack cocaine. I don't know what the fuck they put on them, but they're friggin' amazing. And you can't have just one. So we had like a little baggie packed of them. I don't know. Did we bring the whole fucking thing, or did we just pack a little baggie of them?
Ziploc. Yeah.
We had a Ziploc baggie of these pretzels, and Christina's like making sure that I'm eating. She's like, "Would you freaking eat something already?" Because like I was in work mode. I'm just like trying to like be the ears and the eyes on everything, making sure everything is exactly how we want it, while you and Avi are like munching on the couch. So she's like shoving these bags of pretzels in my face. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll have some. So I'm eating them, and I was like, fuck, now I can't stop because they're so freaking good. So then Mike walks back into the room, and I'm like, Mike, try these pretzels. They're friggin' awesome.
And he was hesitant. He was like,
he was like, all right. I was like, well, you're not gonna be able to have just one, trust me. So he's like, all right, now I'm intrigued. So he has one, and he, I guess, thinks about it. He's like, yeah, fuck it. And he just like grabs more. He's like, what's on these things? These are amazing. He was like, where'd you get these? And we were like, oh, we got it from Costco's. And then I guess Daniel wasn't in the room at that point. And when Daniel came back in the room, Mike was like, Daniel, you got to try those pretzels. So we hand Daniel the bag of pretzels. Mind you, these pretzels are in a plastic unmarked baggie, right? So he can't see like the packaging or what they are. So Daniel takes the pretzel out of the bag, and he's like, did you make these?
a valid question. Valid.
Mike was like, he's like, no, they're from Costco. He's like, what, have you never heard of snacks before?
Only handmade for Dan.
What are snacks?
What are snacks?
So literally, in our production, in this little book, Kristina drew the little twisty pretzels, and then in between them, she writes, what are snacks? Best quote ever. Best quote.
You used, I think I wrote it down in here, you used Dan's line on him again later on.
Right? Yeah.
I think it's somewhere in there. So it was, you had comedic perfection.
It'll come back around. I think you might have written it down. So yeah, a lot of technical talk here. Palm mutes added to the chorus, doubling it up, rounding out the resolve, and doubling.
Sorry, I see where it comes back around.
So many layers, so many layers.
And at this time, we're still snacking, we're still working, and we had brought all the veggies and the tomatoes and whatever, and you had a bag of baby carrots. And you look over at Dan, and you said, Dan, would you like a carrot? I made these.
We all lost our shit.
Oh, it was
so
perfect.
Funny. Like, he's a good sport. He thought it was hilarious. We were like, carrots? No, I've never heard of a carrot. What's a carrot?
Snacks?
What are snacks? Oh man. Yeah, so we added some more some watery slide under the arpeggios, bridge over the river, slide
water.
What are all these lines? So a lot of watery finger picking. What does it say? Dripping
Second half of the intro, Super Soaker 5000.
Super Soaker 5000, because we just wanted the guitar in this song to sound so watery and ethereal, right?
Dip your toe in the jacuzzi, baby. Man, I gotta find a new line.
You love that line. Surprise minor, Daniel.
From Daniel. I guess he had it in a little minor note in something he was doing, and I was like, ooh, That's cool.
So then at 3:30 p.m. we started on All Hallows Eve. Kristina drew some candy corn at the top of this.
It was the knobs directions of the amp.
That makes more sense. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. She drew candy corn All Hallows Eve. Okay, so they're little knobbies and buttons from the amp. Okay.
Yes.
Oh wait, so did you draw them exactly how they were positioned?
Yes, on his Cub 40R. Club 40R? Yeah.
So that we remembered what he had going on there?
We didn't need to. I just thought it was a nice memory to have, I guess. I didn't write down what was main, treble, bass, nothing. There's no labels.
Kristina, have you heard of phone cameras? Could have taken a picture of.
Did you make those?
Did you make snacks and cameras?
Oh my God. Okay, so chorus 1, we wanted like bluesy swings. I love the drum rip, rust through across home plate, whammy end. Mike is miming. Daniel was following what Mike was doing. That was kind of interesting.
And then he was like, double it.
Yeah.
After everything, double it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good take. Okay, now double it. Can you do it again?
Yeah, exactly. He did.
Yeah.
Daniel had free reign to mess around with the chords. Mike wanted it more melodic, more of a hook. We have a bluesy foundation and don't want to overdo it. Daniel just knows. He was able to adjust and he just fucking figured it out. Yeah. He tried a third option, which was a lighter, like a sweeter sound. Avi thought at this point it had like a Queen quality, a Queen feel to it. And Mike's brain was just working on it. Like you could see him just take a minute of silence.
The wheels are turning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing he does like the little like air guitar noodle thing to figure it out in his head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He told us he was trying to find a good moment to put that in around where our vocals already were to make the melody move at that point.
What's the lick in If You Ever Did Believe?
Oh, I think we were trying to find some kind of melody, and I leaned over to you. I was like, what's the guitar lick in like If You Ever Did Believe? Can we subliminally have something similar like that? But we found something out that worked.
Yeah.
And then I just put whammy in big letters because he was working that whammy.
Adding bends, waltzing, swaying, sway away.
Yeah.
I'm just reading some of your descriptive notes here. Adding sweet waltz noodles to the end. Daniel finding the perfect ending. And that all ended at 4:30 p.m. And then on my end, I don't have any studio footage past 3:30 p.m., but our production notebook said that we ended the studio around 4:30. I also don't have any footage at all from that night at the hotel. Maybe you do. But I think this was the night that we might have sorted out all of our perk stuff, and I stuffed most of my mailers and my envelopes, and then you compiled all your stuff to mail home to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I also might have continued to work on harmonies this night. I don't quite remember.
What day is this?
Day 3, Monday, April 1st. What do you have for that night, if you have anything?
I don't have anything for the evening. I think it was the 4th day we went out for sushi, right?
The 4th day we went out for sushi.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
we might have just gone back to the hotel and rotted again, watched The Circle. I don't remember what we did. I might have continued to work on harmonies. Because those were just like really weighing on my mind. Yeah, I think we just did the perk stuff, and then I probably just continued to work on harmony stuff. And then Tuesday, April 2nd, this was studio day 4. Now this was the vocals and leads and some harmonies. Oh yeah, so then that night before then, that's when Mike was like, can you send me the exported harmonies for the songs that we're going to be working on today or tomorrow? So I sent him, I think, Phone Tree Day and Brownies for Breakfast. So since I already, had those organized and sent those to him, those were the songs that we started on. So at 8:58 a.m. on Tuesday, April 2nd, this is studio day 4 for vocals, the leads, and some harmonies. Me and you got in a little acoustic warm-up session so we could kind of figure out our parts for Brownies for Breakfast and Phone Tree Day, and kind of figuring out kind of like your delivery, like how we want you to sing things, just to lighten the load on your brain in the studio so you don't really have to second guess it like at the mic.
Yes.
And kind of like you're prepared a little more. You have an idea of what you're going to do before you get in there and do it. And I just wanted to take as much pressure off of you as possible.
Absolutely. And this helped too, because until we did Magnolia Street, even doing this, I say things a certain way that I don't realize I say them until they're on a recording. Like in Magnolia Street, I think I had to say naked, but I kept saying naked. Yeah. I don't know. But doing this little warm up was really good, because then you could say, okay, like maybe I was trying to take notes of what you were saying, but it wasn't until until I was in the studio that I sing like in my throat, but I had to get my pop voice and kind of put it up more in my head a little more, which made it sound, when I listen to these two songs now, I don't cringe as much as when I listened to myself on Magnolia Street. Wish I would have done, but I didn't know. I was so nervous.
I know.
This time around, it felt much better,
Yeah.
and it just sounded lighter and happier.
Yeah,
So.
and you could tell like you were having way more fun with it this time because like you kind of knew what to expect, whereas like when we did Magnolia Street, you had never stepped into like even a studio before. So to be surrounded by not all these people, but just like me, Avi, and Mike watching you, but still like you've never done it before. So I can understand how nerve-wracking that would be for, somebody just coming in.
I want to make you proud. And I know I'm like, okay, it's not going to be perfect, but it will hopefully be good for this project.
Right. I just wanted to get you to that place where you were comfortable with your voice and comfortable with knowing what you had to do before you even stepped back up to the mic to actually do it. And I think you did great. And I think we got some really, really beautiful takes. And those two songs are just so much fun.
They're so fun. And we had a discussion beforehand because I struggle with FOMO like crazy. And this was also a discussion with the therapist of I needed to come to a place of the songs needed to sound good. I had to let go of needing to have my stamp on it, needing to make sure my voice was on it. And I was like, where is that coming from? Like, you're already a part of this creatively. You want it to sound as good as you can. And that's why you asked Justina to do this. And I appreciate you like giving me the little bits and pieces, but I was totally fine just doing the la la la's in the background.
We'll talk about the la la la's in a second.
Okay.
I'm done with the la.
The majority of the harmonies you did these other two songs on your own, but we're going to get to those days. But I just really had to remind myself, even being there at one point, I was like, I wish I was helping. When we were sitting, this will come at the tail end, but when I was sitting there listening to you do All Hallows Eve, I leaned over to you. I was like, this needs to get done. And I just put it all in your hands, and I had to be okay. Just like, bloop, you be Jesus. Take the wheel.
And I say all those fucking la la la's was because there were so friggin' many of them. I was like, my mind was just mush by the end of it. And like the night before when we were doing like the harmonies, like you were helping me write the harmonies for One Green Eye, One Blue. And I know you really wanted to get in on some of those harmonies. And I was like trying really hard to just like pick out ones that I knew that you would be comfortable singing, ones that weren't too hard.
And we went through like, and you highlighted and color coordinated. Okay, you'll do this when you do this. I was like, we're not going to have time.
Right.
For me, because I take a little more time.
And that's when it finally came down to, I was like, I looked at you, I was like, I don't know. Cause like then on top of me like laying all of my la la la's down, Mike would have to readjust the microphone, start a new track, start a new like file, whatever.
Yep.
So I was like, I don't know if we're going to have time to do this. Because we were already running so behind as it was. So I was just like, I don't know, Kristina. I don't know about this. And then I think I looked at you like that last day and I was like, I just had that talk with you. And I was like, if push comes to shove and it's just going to be me on this track, are you okay with that? I just wanted to make sure like you were okay with that. Because I knew like we were so crunched for time and things were so stressful. And I just wanted to get through
I could
it.
see you were stressed. So I was like, this is going to take way too much. Just I'm cool with it. It's fine. Just make it amazing. So, and you did.
You helped me write the harmonies on Green Eye, One Blue.
That was the most fun part. That was so fun. We'll get to the night, but we started, okay, so we didn't even get to the studio yet on this fourth day. So we started heading to the elevator, 9:50.
The elevator.
The elevator. The studio was so close to the hotel. It didn't take long to get there. I think this was the day I was singing Roadie by Tenacious D just to myself, and the elevator doors open and this man walks out and he's like, hell yeah.
That's right. That's right. We were like, does he know about the D? Or does he just see like two girls with an acoustic guitar and like he just that fucking rocks, right? Yeah. I don't know why he said that, but that was really funny. I also have here 9:50 a.m. as we're heading to the elevator. I did a little check-in on my phone and I'm just like, I don't even know what day it is. I was already exhausted and we hadn't even started the grunt work yet, which was like those vocals were the bulk of our obligation, like what we had to have in order before we even stepped into the studio up to the mic. And just getting to that point was exhausting.
Yeah, it was 10 o'clock. It's not super early, but it felt already this fourth day felt early and I was fucking tired. I knew we had to sing this day and I was getting your throat coat tea. It says take one, strumming through. Mike was singing along and I don't know how you fucking do it. But you were like, your voice was bursting out of that booth at 10 a.m. full force. And I was like, oh, I'm on the couch curled up with the dog.
You could tell my voice was a little tired that morning, but before we started on the vocals, 10:08 a.m., I was setting up tracking because remember, I still had to do acoustic guitars for All Hallows Eve because we couldn't finish because Daniel had shown up the previous day to start on his work and we only had him for a limited time. So Mike was like, we'll get to All Hallows Eve guitar when we get to it. So it was this day, Tuesday, April 2nd, studio day 4, that we tracked the guitars, my acoustic guitars for All Hallows Eve. Perfect. So around 10:20 a.m. we started tracking. By 11,
I think at that time I went for a coffee run.
Did you? Oh yeah. I think you got me like
I wrote chai latte and cinnamon.
Oh, that's right. I had a chai latte that day because my voice was feeling tired. I needed something warm and cozy, and it was cold and like rainy that day. And
it was kind of crummy.
Yeah, so I needed something hot. So by 10:20 a.m. we started tracking guitars, and then by 11:03 a.m. acoustic guitar tracking for All Hallows Eve is wrapped, and all the acoustic guitars by that point is wrapped.
I said 3 or 4 takes per section, and we choose which one of the best samples suits that portion. And I wrote down collectively, everybody oohs when something like magic happens. Everybody just is on the same track. It's really cool. You were adjusting your vowel placements, tightening up the timing. It must have been for Brownies for Breakfast because you say breakfast with a more open A leading into the bridge. I loved that. You weren't super sold on it, but in every other instance you say breakfast, it's a more I sound, but I loved how open it was, and I'm glad you kept that in. That's what I was saying, the vowel placement.
Because I would have changed it. I would have told him to change it back to what I normally do because that's how he's singing it. But Kristina fought me tooth and nail and I want it breakfast, not breakfast.
It just sounded so like directed out. It just made me feel good.
You know how you guys sold me on that, and you both knew what the fuck you were doing, you assholes. You told me I sounded like Paramore, and I was like, all right, fine, then it's
that's it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And that does that bridge in that song because it's like do 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 like the where the crash cymbals are. It sounds like the breakdown of the song Brick by Boring Brick. Go get your shovel. You know the bridge on that song? Listen to the bridge on that song. It has a very similar, like the breakdown, like the instrumentation sounds very similar to that song. And when you guys pointed it out, I was like, holy shit, that part does kind of sound like Paramore. So all right, fine. She could have this one. It's fine.
I'm gonna repeat myself. I don't have a lot of input, but I know what I fucking like.
That's when you really do usually give me input, I don't fight it too hard. Like sometimes I do because like I'm a Sagittarius and I could be very stubborn, but I also like I do try to take into account like what your input is and what you say, and more often than not I usually end up going with what you
I
gotta give you credit where credit is due.
I'm glad you left it in. It just makes it's like, oh fuck, she's ready. Fuck.
Yeah.
Do you see what I wrote there before 1 p.m.? I can read it. I just don't know what I was talking about.
Fred Durst?
Fred Durst is a windbreaker Santa Claus.
And then we put Mr. Biscuits.
What is that?
Because he's from Limp Bizkit. We were calling him Mr. Biscuits.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, we
and then I told you that my neighbors are neighbors with his Fred Durst's dad in Florida.
That's right. Yeah. That is
Fred Durst is a windbreaker Santa Claus.
Yeah, we had like a 5-minute detour side quest discussion about Fred Durst for some reason. I don't know. Yeah. So then we started on Phone Tree Day vocals. Let's see, what do I have?
We wrapped it up. Yeah, it was like 12:30-ish. We wrapped up vocals.
Yeah, I was in the vocal booth until around 11:30 a.m. Oh no, that's when I started tracking. So then I put my next clip in my camera roll. 12:23 p.m. was you getting ready to do leads on Phone Tree Day.
Right. And I wrote down that I asked this time because I'm just so used to singing in the car because the track is playing. I'm just singing along with it, which I didn't do last time. Like there was no vocal. Yeah. He would cut the vocal part out and I would sing to it. And I'm like, ooh, no, like it's ugh. So this time the plan was to have Justina singing on the scratch demo in my ears as I was singing along to it, which made it so much easier. I was way less nervous. It was just a lot more fun. And you were just slamming, what did I say? Just was slamming the high sustained parts like a pro. It didn't take long at all, not nearly as long as Magnolia Street. Yeah, there's one video of you just belting and I just have shown it to everybody. It's amazing. The one that I said just can do this all day, that one that I put on the Instagram. Incredible.
I can and I can't do it all day because vocals all day, man.
No, I know.
Like screaming all fucking day long. I had such a headache after that day.
Oh, I can imagine.
I was just like, I don't ever want want to sing for the next, like,
Aw.
who knows how long. But, like, yeah, I mean, I could do it. I freaking love being in a studio. I love singing more than anything in the world, and I love recording. It is a very tedious process, but I enjoy it. I don't know. It's very weird. The lead vocals, no problem. The harmonies, I do enjoy, but it was starting to get to be a lot because of the volume of it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
We only had 2 days really to do vocals and harmonies on 4 songs.
Yeah.
And those are very layered. They're not like simple little harmonies. Like they're like 3-part layered harmonies on like everything.
And doubled.
And doubled on everything. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, by 12:23, you started getting ready to do phone tree leads. 1 p.m., I started the leads on brownies for breakfast. That's all the footage I have for that, I think, that day. But then you also put some leads on brownies for breakfast. I don't know if you have any footage of that.
I do have some footage of it. I don't know if I was taking notes at that time because I was standing there doing it, but I wrote down like teenage dirtbag voice where you're like, brownies for breakfast, that part. And just wrote down the difference of saying breakfast versus breakfast. I feel like I got really sloppy with the notes.
I put here, I think we only finished the harmonies for brownies on this day because we ran out of time and had to save harmonies for phone tree day for another time, which we'll get to later on. That's actually the last song that I tracked harmonies to. So we ended this day around 4:30 p.m. So by the end of this day, like think about that, like 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. standing all fucking day in a freezing cold studio.
Yeah, it was cold.
Screaming and belting all fucking day long, take after take after take, no food breaks, maybe 1 pee break, and that was a fucking lot. By the time we were done this day, I was toast.
I wrote down harmonies done. Sushi tonight?
Yeah. When we finished at 4:30 p.m., that felt like the longest day, and my voice was getting so tired. And I felt like, okay, like 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., not really eating much, because like we said before, there are no breaks. Mike is at the control booth, so he can eat while he's working. I'm singing into a microphone. I can't be chewing while I'm like take after take after take. Like I couldn't eat until after 4 o'clock. And on top of that, I'm screaming, belting take after take.
Yeah.
And I hadn't eaten, so I had the biggest migraine.
Aww.
I had the biggest headache. So I needed an actual meal at that point because up until then, we had been surviving on meats and cheeses and like hummus and like carrots. And I'm like, I need something substantial.
Same.
I need to go ham on some sushi right now.
Oh, it was amazing.
Big ass hot bowl of udon. I needed some kind of sustenance.
So soothing.
It really was. So that's what we did. We got I don't even remember the name of the place that we went to, but it was,
I think it was umai because I was like, oh, we have an umai down here.
okay.
But yeah, we got to sit near the fish tank, which had a dory and a Nemo and a puffer fish. And I think the manager stopped by to say hi and just see how we were enjoying everything. But you and I had a really good conversation just about where we were because we don't get together. And whenever we do sit down and chat, it's for the podcast.
Yeah.
Because we're just fucking busy. But I think that was a great time to catch up, soothe our tummies, fill our hearts with good
And our
sushi.
souls, right?
Yeah, soul fuel.
Yeah, it really was. I think we really needed that meal. So I got a huge bowl of udon, and you got some interesting thing in like a huge shell with seafood, but it had cheese on it.
It was like lump crab
Yeah, looks interesting.
with cheese. It was amazing. Yeah, it was great.
Avi got a big old chicken katsu cutlet, and all the food was freaking good. And I think between the 3 of us, we split maybe like 3 sushi rolls.
Yeah, Sharon. Yeah.
Sharing different sushi rolls. So freaking good. All the food was amazing, and I really did need that. And we also got some tropical drinks which were really yummy. And then we admired the fish in the tank. And the guy who worked there, do you remember he said those fish were like what, 10 to 15 years old?
Incredible. I was like, you take really good care of them.
Cats and dogs don't even live that long, but these fish are just chilling in the same friggin' tank for the past like decade and a half. Like, what?
Wow.
Crazy.
This was, okay, so those tropical drinks, I think, kickstarted the rest of what was to come. Because we were like, well, we're already drinking, so.
You might be right, yeah. And not having eaten much all day long and then just sitting down to dinner, I had a little bit of a buzz before we even got our food.
We were feeling goofy by the time we left.
We were feeling really goofy, but do you remember after that meal, Avi dumped me and you He dumped our asses back off to the hotel so he can go on a little excursion side quest by himself. Yeah. He wanted to check out some breweries, some Boston breweries, and he told me this like before we even went on this trip. He was like, by the way, I think we should check out some breweries while we're up there. And I was like, all right, cool. But like our time constraint and all the work we had to do outside of not being in the studio between the perks and the harmonies and all the other shit, like me and you didn't have time to like be dilly-dallying and like going on side.
I wanted to. I thought, oh, we'll have plenty of time. We're done in the studio by 4. Oh my God, we'll have all evening to do whatever we want. No, it was not like that at all.
But Avi could, and that's fine. Like, so he drove us back to the hotel so me and you could like finish up the harmonies for One Green, Eye, One Blue due to its doo-woppy nature. And this shit was layered to our detriment, I want to say, because the next day in the studio, we'll get to that in a minute, but that was just a whole debacle in and of itself. And on top of working on harmonies, you started showing me the Jimmy Angelov soundbite from
our acquaintance is from Russia, so he's got that really heavy accent. And I was like, hey, could you give us a little soundbite? So some of you might have heard the stinger, like between our Grounded by the Moon little commercial, and when we come back into the show, that's our friend. We will maybe get to work with on keys at some point because he's an amazing pianist. So thank you for being our Jimmy for a day.
Our Jimmy Angelov.
Jimmy Angelov.
We gotta get him on recording saying an aura malevolence.
This night became unhinged quite quickly.
God.
This is my favorite night. There's a really good clip. I think it's already shared, but we were adding unnecessary soul to the bridge of One Green, Eye, One Blue. It was amazing.
You guys were just edging me on. And like, I was delirious by that point.
It was amazing.
Having the one meal all day long and alcohol in my system and just being like, my mind was complete mush because we've been working on harmonies now for like...
You were so easily swayed. And I was like, oh, we can get away with anything right now.
Yeah. So we threw some weird shit on there and you guys were like, Mike's gonna eat the shit up. Watch, tomorrow in the studio, he's gonna want to actually use this stuff. And I was like, no, he's not.
He loved it, but he was like, we didn't put it in, obviously.
Yeah, no.
But all I kept thinking, I could not. So when I got home and I was singing this song to myself, I could not sing it without doing all the soul shit in the middle. You got to believe. You got to believe. Oh my God. It was so funny.
And the cucumber microphone was...
Yeah. You still got living. Oh, so good.
Beautiful touch. So yeah, Avi got back to the hotel. He got back from the brewery with like a shit ton of craft beer and like some souvenir mini beer glasses. And we just had fun sampling his new beer purchases and adding all that unnecessary soul to those green eye ad libs. And it was a late night and like I really felt like toast. And by the end of that night, I could feel my voice just like going.
Oh no.
I wasn't losing it, but I could just feel my muscles were very, very tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need to go to bed. And you guys were trying, like, practically prying the laptop out of my hands, like, go the fuck to sleep.
Yeah.
Go to sleep. And I couldn't. I was like, just one more harmony.
No.
Just dust. There was just dust coming out. There's just dust coming out at that point. So,
Poor
yeah.
thing.
Went to sleep. Now we're on Wednesday, April 3rd, studio day 5, and we're continuing on vocal leads and harmonies. We still had to do the leads for this day. We still had to do All Hallows Eve and One Green Eye, One Blue, which are the ballads. And I think this was the morning I kind of pulled you aside and I was like, listen, I don't know if we're gonna have the fucking time for all of this. Do you mind if I just like take the reins and just get it done? And you were like, yeah, I get it. Just fucking get it done. I think we were both done by that point. Just so
And there was still just so much to do.
Those are the hardest songs to sing. And we saved those for last, which I mean is good because, you know, got all like the poppy, easy songs out of the way to save my voice. But my voice was so tired at that point. Like I really was summoning every ounce of energy I had left to hit those notes and to make sure it didn't sound like I was losing my voice. So like I doubled up on the throat coat tea, the lozenges. Thank God Mike had some like Ricola lozenges laying around. Like he gave me some of those and just kind of trying to like take it slow and be like, all right, you got this. We can, the home stretch here, right? So yeah, my voice was just very tired at that point. This day was hell. Okay, because we thought the day before was long, but this day went until, because Mike was like, okay, this is our last day in the studio. I can stay until 6 o'clock. So again, we started at 10 a.m. I tracked lead vocals to One Green Eye, One Blue, wrapped the leads on that by 11:18 a.m. By 11:26, I started tracking lead vocals to All Hallows Eve. So we finished those two songs, like the leads on those two songs relatively quickly, like probably before noon, I want to say. And then I don't have much else footage from this day, so I'm just going to go off memory. But but I want to say that we got through the rest of the leads for One Green Eye, One Blue, and All Hallows Eve probably within like maybe an hour or 2 hours, if that. Then once we shifted gears and started on the harmonies for One Green Eye, One Blue, that really put a wrench in the works. That's when things really started to lag. We started the harmonies on One Green Eye, One Blue first, and I'm glad that we did because it took the longest and it was the most intricate, and I honestly just wanted to get it over with. And there were just so many layers, and I know it's going to sound awesome when it's done, but holy shit. I think I was ready to go home after that one.
Yeah.
And I was bummed because it was going so slow and that we couldn't take the time that we wanted to layer in your harmonies that we had already labeled and like we already discussed, like these are the ones that you're going to do. But that, again, that would have required Mike to switch over the microphones, start a new file. Like it would have been a whole other process. And you were leaving that day at like 4 p.m.
Yeah, I wrote down we have day 5 attitude. We were just both really tired.
Tired.
But you popped in. But before that, I wrote down Justice hitting these fucking notes at 10 a.m. like a pro. Again, like you were just pushing through it. I know you were tired, but you weren't like complaining like after every take, like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. You weren't doing that. You were just nailing it.
I was just trying to put the game face on and get it done.
Yes.
I don't want to be that like diva person that people have stories about. You know, I don't want to be that person. So I try not to complain. I don't feel like there is any room to complain. I feel really lucky that we were able to even be able to do this project and lucky that people wanted to donate the money to fund it. And I just felt so grateful to be there. Like I really would feel like an asshole if I complained about any of it. I'm just like looking back at it now, all the feelings and thoughts that were going on in my head and just like me just being worried about my voice holding up and take after take and just trying to paint you the picture of like it was getting rough at the end.
Yeah.
It was getting rough and I was just like, I just want to get this over with. I want to go home and see my cats.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't have a timestamp on this note, but I wrote throat lozenges coming out. Tina Justice. Country Justina.
My friend Jason gave me that name, by the way, like ages ago. Like we were like just like goofing around and like I was like playing the guitar. He's like, you're like Tina Justice.
Oh my God.
That's your country name.
Breaking verses apart to record and sew together. You had said a little voice fatigue was happening at that point. So
yeah, All Hallows Eve was tough because there's a lot of like overlapping of vocals in that. Like certain lines kind of run into each other. So kind of like having to pull those apart and do separate takes. And then just like Mike was kind of threading them together was kind of like the remedy to that situation because, you know, you only have so much breath, you know, one whole line. So it was hard to do a lot of that in one whole take. So we did a lot of threading together on All Hallows Eve. And that song and One Green Eye, One Blue, like they have some belty notes in them that are very hard, and when your voice is fatigued on top of it, it's like even
the
harder.
thing is, you were saying yes, your voice was fatigued and you're probably feeling that, but you added like a Celine Dion run. You had just done this big belt, you held it, Mike recorded it, and then I have it recorded. You were like, Kristina, should I do that Celine Dion thing you told me about that it sounded like? And I was like, what? And you were like, I'll show you. And then you recorded and you just did this whole rip.
Well, that was actually probably the safest thing for my voice because that was in my head placement. It was falsetto, so I was like, woo! So it's like lighter on my throat box. It wasn't chest voice, so I'm not really like using the muscles in my throat. I'm kind of like pushing the sound up into my head. So that was like the easiest.
Okay, all right.
Of all the shit, I was trying to like take into consideration like all the feedback you were giving because like we were working on those harmonies the night before, and you were like, yeah, do that little Celine Dion, or like you said something about Celine Dion, and like I put it there, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome. So I had that in the back of my mind, and I was like, let's just see how it sounds.
Totally. I have my timestamp here of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I was like, it just is getting kind of tired.
I was very tired.
But vocally, you couldn't tell, but your face, you were like, I'm tired.
I was just ready to take a nap.
We were setting up the meeting with Eva. We were trying to set that up for our fiddle player at some point. We finally got it locked down. We're going to hang out with her, or I'm going to be working, but the 26th of April is when she's going to be set to put a little fiddle on All Hallows Eve, which would be cool. At this point, a little bit after 2, are we there yet?
I don't have anything else like time stamped because I stopped recording after that because I was like, well, we're working at harmonies now at this point. This shit's just going to be repetitive. Anybody watching this footage isn't going to hear what's going on in the headphones anyway, so it's just going to be a lot of me standing there being like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't record any of the harmonies process because it was just so tedious and grueling, and honestly, I just like I wanted to get it over with.
I put there was a huge gale storm coming in that night,
Right.
and we had a flicker of power,
Oh
which
my
set
God,
us back too,
I forgot
because
about
his
that.
whole computer system had to get going again. All the system went down.
When that flicker of power happened and the fucking power went out, I almost lost my shit because I was like, we only have one fucking day to do the rest of this, and we're still on the first fucking song.
Yeah.
We're still on the first song for harmonies, and we still have harmonies for 2, 3 other songs at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I wrote down if harmonies aren't finished, can they be sent in remotely, or is our budgeted time like done at that point? Will we be adding the harmonies on our own? Like, I was really concerned. I said, I wish we had more time. These last 2 days have been crammed and the miscellaneous details aren't on the radar. I said, as of right now, keys we needed for all the songs, which as of right now, none of the songs have keys and we might have to remotely do those. Harmonies we still needed for Phone Tree Day, When Green and When Blue, and All Hallows Eve, and the fiddle for All Hallows Eve. That was like a big list for that time.
Yeah.
I said to you, I was sitting in the booth with you, not doing shit. I was just drinking my LaCroix. I said, do you want some LaCroix? And you said, no, it'll make me burp. It's a bad idea.
I was just so done at that point. I was like, all I need now, on top of the power going out, my voice fatigue, is just to have gas and me not being able to get notes out because I'm just belching everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's not a good idea. I'll just stick to my tea and my lozenges. And like Mike's like in the other room eating his lunch while he's working, and I'm like, I can't even have a.
Yeah.
I think you brought me a croissant or something. Oh, you brought me hash browns, and I think I stuffed a couple of those in my face in between takes, but that was like all I had all fucking day.
And I couldn't stick around to take care of you. I guess I'll wrap up my end of the story because you have so much more that comes after.
Yeah.
So I was set to leave the studio around 4 to get to the airport. My flight wasn't until like 7:20, and Avi was nice enough to like wait with me, but I had scheduled an Uber like the day before. You can schedule them to pick you up, time, place, whatever. So I'm watching this Uber on the map, like time wise, like, oh, coming closer, coming closer. And then it stops because Plaid Dog is like in like a little business district.
Set back in like a little set of warehouses. It's not easy to find, right?
It's not easy to find. It was raining that day and really cold. So I was like, I'll walk up to the main street. I had all my shit. So I'm standing on the corner and I'm waiting for a while. And they message me. I'm like, I'm at the corner of this street and this street. And apparently there's another Plaid Dog somewhere that's 20 miles from this Plaid Dog.
A recording studio?
It just said Plaid Dog Studio. And it was my bad because I clicked that.
Yeah.
So this person was 20 miles from me. I was like, click cancel. And
Holy
I found like a ride share that was coming my way. But I was out there for probably like a total of like 20 minutes in the rain. Just standing with my luggage on the side of a Boston street. So my ride finds me. I get my hands when I got in the car. I think I was trying to text Avi. I shared my ride with him just so he knew where I was going to be. And I could not move my fingers. And this gentleman, first of all, I opened the back door that's facing the sidewalk on that side, another person in there. So I was like, well, I'll throw my shit in the trunk. And I went to get in the front door because I didn't want to really sit in the back with the stranger.
Yeah, that's weird.
And the driver had like a bunch of stuff on the seat. And I felt so bad that he had to move everything, but I climbed in, he turned on the heat. He was a super nice guy from, I don't know where the fuck he was. I made it to the airport in time. My flight was not till 7:20. I get a delay, of course, because the weather was so bad.
It was bad that day.
They had only delayed it 20 minutes. I was like, cool. So I went in, I got the best old fashioned I've ever had and just sat there, and I packed myself like a charcuterie bag, but it also had the real stinky cheese in it. So I was like trying to open it and pop it in my mouth and close it as fast as I could at the bar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be that stinky girl at the bar. So then they load everybody on the plane at more closer to 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we're all sitting on the plane and we're just fucking sitting there. Just fucking sitting there. And it's hot. I'm feeling sick. I have a migraine because like we've been working all day. I'm tired, probably dehydrated. I'm fading.
Oh, we were
so
for
fast.
Sure. We were for sure dehydrated.
Yeah. So they were just saying like, we have to wait a while for this storm we need a route out of here.
Yeah.
So they had to wait.
Yeah.
I think it was about 10 o'clock. It must have been 3 hours. After 3 hours, they legally have to open the doors.
That's right. Yeah.
So they opened the doors. all right, they closed the doors. Okay, we're getting our flight plan together.
Okay.
But we've been sitting here so long, we ran out of fuel.
They had to...
Not ran out, but they needed to refuel. All right, so we're sitting there a little longer. And they're like, well, we've been sitting here for a while. Now there's ice on the wings. They have to come and bring the de-icer, and we have to turn off the ventilation system because it's kind of stinky when they de-ice the wings, the chemical they use. So they had come up and down the aisle and like handed out water. And I had water and they were handing out cookies. I'm not like a sweets person, but I was like, I'll take both of those. And as soon as I ate those, I felt much better. Yeah. We didn't take off till like 11 o'clock, 11:30. Right. We were sitting there for 4 goddamn hours. Too long. Way too long.
I was worried that your flight was going to get canceled again. Remember? Because it got canceled. The first trip, it got canceled. And you ended up driving back to Jersey with us.
Right. Yeah. It was not canceled. We sat there for 4 hours. And when we took off, like, I appreciate this pilot so much. Like, he was super active on the intercom saying, like, we are going to have turbulence at this point. And, like, he would come on and be like, okay, in the next couple minutes, we're going to have turbulence. That little thing is such a game changer because I knew what to expect. And I have such anxiety with, like, that's how I'm going to die. So
I know.
I didn't get to my house until about 3:30 in the morning. And I had to go to work the next day.
Oh, why?
So I slept for a few hours. I think I went in maybe an hour late. I just wanted to get stuff done. Yeah. So getting home was a pain in the ass. I hate fucking flying. So next time we record, it's got to be somewhere between us. Like we can meet in the middle. I could drive to it.
Right. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe next time I'll be coming down your way. Maybe Nashville's next on the list.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. But during this time, Avi was sending me like updated pictures and Marcos of you. You had moved from the booth into where Mike was located in that other room.
Yeah. So you left the studio around 4 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I was still working on the harmonies for One Green Eye, One Blue. Mind you, we had started working on this song at like 12 p.m. at noon, and the shit went through 4 p.m. We haven't even started yet. So after One Green Eye, One Blue, another session started or was scheduled to happen in the live room, and the vocal booth that we were working in all weekend or week, it's like right off of the live. It's in the live room, but like offset. So I couldn't be in there while the drums were going on. So Mike ended up moving our background vocal session into the control room. So he set up a little vocal booth in the corner, and Avi and Hattie continued to chill on the couch. And I don't even remember what time we started harmonies on All Hallows Eve, but we were there until about 7 p.m. A whole other hour.
That's crazy.
A whole other hour after Mike said that he had to leave, because initially he said that this day we would wrap at 6, but we ended up wrapping at 7. And I think the only thing I had eaten that entire day, besides the few hash browns and some of the croissant that you got me earlier, shoved that into my mouth. That was like 10. That was early on in the day. That was like 10 a.m. The only other thing I had within that last stretch of the hour that we were there was like a banana. And that was like when Mike was setting up. I was just like shoving a banana in my face. There were literally no chunks of time for any breaks because it was just like take after take after take of me standing there. And that's the only time we had. So I had to do it. And I literally sang from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. straight because we were just so crunched for time. So at 7 o'clock, Mike was about to open the session for Phone Tree Day because we still had harmonies to do on that. And I was like, what?
Bro, you gotta go.
What? I hadn't eaten all fucking day. I was like, I thought you had to leave at 6 o'clock. He was like, well, what choice do we have? Because, like, you know, I guess he thought that we were leaving the next day. And we were, but, like, we're driving back. We don't have a flight to catch. Like, we could literally shift our schedule around to whatever it needed to be. So I mentioned that Avi and I we weren't leaving until the next day. And if we had to fit a morning session in just to finish the harmonies on the last song, we could do that if the time slot was available. And so he left the room to make a phone call to his wife just to make sure his kids didn't have a delayed opening because it was supposed to snow the next day. So he came back in and he said it should be fine, but let's play the time by ear depending on the weather. So we wrapped that day around 7 p.m. I was so irritable because like I hadn't eaten, you know, it was just a long fucking day, longer than the day before, because the day before was 10 a.m. to 4:30. This day was 10 a.m. to 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
like
it's a long day.
It was nuts. So my voice was done. I was starving and cold, and I just was physically and like just like mentally depleted. So Avi suggested we get some Mexican food, and that just sounded so amazing. I would have eaten my arm at that point.
Yeah.
It was just sounded amazing. So Mike suggested like a really good place around the corner, so that's where we went. And I got a huge carnitas burrito with like a side of rice and a big ass like soda, and Avi got his birria tacos because those are his new thing. I actually treated him to dinner because I felt so bad making him sit on the couch all week long.
He got some work done with his computer, but he just had to sit and wait and wait.
Yeah.
All day.
And I mean, like, I know during like the guitar sessions and the bass and the drums, like, cool, because we're all in the control room giving input and we're having interactions. But like when I was up at the plate having to work, he was just by himself,
right,
just like with the dog.
Yeah.
And I know he was working on, he had brought stuff to do, but like that was a very long day, and I felt so bad making him sit there. So I treated him to dinner, and I had a nice big glass of Coke, and that carbonation hit so nice after guzzling tea and water all day long. I was just tired of it. When we finished at the restaurant, it was pouring outside and the rain felt like ice at that point.
No. Yeah.
We drove back to the hotel, and of course there were no spots in front, which actually worked out better for us because we drove around into that little indoor underground garage.
Oh, good.
And luckily we found a spot in there that was actually better, so then we didn't have to lug all the bags and the guitar in the freezing rain.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if it had snowed a lot that night, then we wouldn't have had to had like dug ourselves.
Shovel.
So it was actually better that we found that spot. So we got back to the room, dumped off the stuff, took a hot shower, got all cozy. I put my fuzzy socks on, and like I still couldn't even rest because I still had to organize some of the harmonies and had to fix some things on Phone Tree Day because now we're going to finish harmonies for those the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did from the bed because I just needed to lay the fuck down. I can't even sit at a desk right now. So Thursday, April 4th now this is the very last day. I call it Studio Day 6, but really it was only like a few hours, and we went back for the backing vocals for Phone Tree Day. So I woke up from a text from Mike, I don't know, like 7 or 8 in the morning, solidifying our studio call time. So he was like, listen, the kids have a delayed opening. How's 11 a.m.? We're like, perfect. And actually, I was grateful for the little extra time that morning because Avi and I still had to pack our belongings, check out of the hotel, go through the fridge. Avi was going through the fridge, like dumping like what we didn't want, and you know, making room in his little backpack because we only had so much room for like the ice backpack for the drive home to pack all our fruits and vegetables and meats and cheeses. And then we had to still pack the car, and I still had to check out of the hotel. So we did wake up to snow on the ground outside, but it wasn't like the sticking kind, so we really lucked out there. Like it was just like falling and melting, and it was just like the main roads just looked like rainy, but there was like a little light dusting on like everything, like the grass and stuff. So we lucked out. We didn't really have to shovel anything or drive in anything crazy. So we got back to the studio around 11 a.m. and we banged out the backing vocals to Phone Tree Day. Luckily that song was pretty light on the harmonies. Like it still like has like, you know, some layering, but not nearly as many as the other 2 songs we did the previous day. So I'm kind of glad that this one was last, nice, light and easy one to kind of just finish things off. So we wrapped vocals around 2 p.m. and then we hit the road, and then Avi and I tried going to the Wendy's around the corner for food and to pee before we hit the road, but it was weird. Like all the workers were like on their lunch break, I guess. Like we could see them eating in the windows, and the doors were locked, so they weren't taking customers, so we couldn't even like go in to pee. If like,
weird.
Yeah,
that's weird.
So I didn't pee at the studio because I was like, oh, we're gonna go to the Wendy's. We'll just pee there. So I had like the junior bacon cheeseburger in my mind, and I was like, I just really fucking want my junior bacon cheeseburger. Like I earned this. And like the whole time I'm like in the vocal booth, like I have my laptop and my iMessage is connected to phone chat. So Avi, like I'm texting him from my laptop while I'm in the booth in between takes, like when Mike was like adjusting stuff. And I was like, can we get nuggies after this? He was like, yes, let's get nuggies. I was like, and I want a junior bacon cheeseburger. He's like, okay, there's a Wendy's around the corner. So that's what we did, but we couldn't
have it in your mind. It's extra disappointing when you've already planned it for an hour.
So fucking disappointing. I just wanted to leave there and eat my junior bacon cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And they were
You're
closed.
making me really fucking hungry.
So we were annoyed that it was closed. But I was like, I just want Wendy's. So let's just find another Wendy's. How hard is it going to be to find a Wendy's in a city, right? So Avi looked. He said like the closest one wasn't for like another 45 minutes on the route home. So he was like, can you wait that long? And I was pissed. I was like, I'll fucking wait. Out of spite, I was like, I will wait for my junior bacon cheeseburger. So we drove the 40 something minutes and we get to the next Wendy's and all the machines are broken. Like the soda machines and the food that they gave us was cold. And we took the food and we just like left and started eating it on the road so we could just like hurry up and get the fuck home to our cats. But so we were like eating it on the road and like everything was freaking cold. So we were annoyed at that. So then a couple hours after our Wendy's stop, we stopped for our Starbucks, got our shaken espressos, and we got right back on the road after that. And I think we finally got home around like 7 p.m. or so. And it just felt like really good to get home and just lay on the couch with my cats.
Mm-hmm.
And then the morning after that, New Jersey got that 4.8 magnitude earthquake.
That is insane.
That was fucking fun.
Oh my God.
Avi was in the bathroom. Well, first of all, I woke up screaming, the house shaking, and the cats just like jumped off me like, what the hell's going on? And I wake up, and we had both fallen asleep on the couch, and I woke up and Avi wasn't there. He was nowhere to be found. So I just wake up to the house shaking. I'm all alone with the cats, and I'm like, Avi! I'm like,
just screaming for him.
I'm just screaming for him. I was like, Avi! And he like rushes out of the bathroom. He's like, what?
Well, you Marco'd me and you were like, I was screaming for Avi like the earthquake took him.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know it was an earthquake at first because like I just woke up to the house shaking. At first, I thought like a big garbage truck was rolling down the street. I thought maybe the neighbors were jackhammering some shit.
Yeah.
It didn't register earthquake right away because New Jersey doesn't get earthquakes like California. Like it's not even like that. So I was like, what the fuck? And then after a full like 2 minutes of the house shaking, it was like, is this a fucking earthquake? And then Avi comes out of the bathroom. He's like, I was wiping my ass. What the fuck? Is that an earthquake? It was nuts. And then we got another like aftershock at like 6 p.m. The house like it shook again. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Wow, that's so weird.
Yeah. So that was just, it was fucking crazy. I think I was dead that entire weekend. I was just like so fucking burnt out. And I know like me and you, we had planned to work on like maybe recording or catching up on recording some episodes and, you know, catching up. But I was just like, I am toast. My voice is shot. My brain is shot. Everything feels like mush. I just need to take the weekend and just tell everybody to fuck right off.
Didn't we record on a Sunday? Yeah, we recorded Blood Oath episode, the second part on that Sunday. So it was like not even, you didn't even have a full 2 days. So I was like, okay, back to work. Sorry, hun.
I needed like at least like those 2 days to just like be a zombie. And it just felt so good. Yeah. And I know like we said, we planned on working and recording on some other things, on other episodes from the hotel room again, just like we did on the first trip, but we just didn't have the time. There were just like way too many moving parts, signing and organizing the perk stuff and working on mainly the harmonies and making sure all the tracks were organized and everything was ready to go. So we had our shit together for the studio. And by that last morning, my voice was just so tired. Mike was like, I thought for sure you were going to wake up with no voice this morning.
Wow.
Like, I walked in, he was like, how are you? Like, how's your voice?
Oh.
You have a voice? I was like, I'm good. I just needed some Mexican food and some sleep and we're good.
Rock star. That's
so
amazing.
He's like, all right. He just wanted to make sure my voice was okay. It was very tired. So I didn't really do shit or socialize much of the rest of that weekend, if I remember correctly, aside from recording our episode. And then I think I went to my parents' house 2 days in a row, ate pasta, watched YouTube with my mom, and we went thrifting one of the days. And
that's nice.
It was like the best.
Was that the day you showed me the Louis L'Amour book?
Yeah,
Nice.
I found a Louis L'Amour book in the thrift store.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, we went thrifting and I just needed that just to like decompress after that week of like go, like stress. And I mean, it was great. I love that we had that experience. I love that we were able to record 4 more songs, but the crunch time and the ambition this time around was...
I know. This is what you kept saying. This is very ambitious.
A little ambitious. 4 songs for, I mean, 6 days, like a week sounds like a long time. It's not a long time. Especially like, you know, you gotta eat, you gotta sleep. And on top of that, even outside of the studio, still having to work on harmonies and making sure that the parts are written in there. Because you saw how much time it took to just lay the parts down. Imagine having to come up with the parts in the studio.
Oh my God, no.
Fucking forget it.
Fucking forget it.
So I just wanted to do my due diligence just to make sure we had our shit. So when we roll into the studio, we don't look like the asshole. Like I don't have my shit together, you know?
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure all those parts were there. But like working on that outside of the studio, like I couldn't even decompress when we left the studio for the day.
No.
I felt like I still had to like work, you know?
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot, but we got it done. I can't wait to see how everything is sounding because Mike, at the time of recording this, Mike still has not sent us roughs for anything else. We've only had the roughs for the brownies for breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just want to say huge thank you to Mike Davidson and Avi. My God, thank you to our number 1 Lee, Sam Su, who was our project manager when we were doing the crowdfunding, Daniel Jung, Colin, who did our bass in the single, Steve and Russ on drums, Eva was our strings, and Kayla was our media coordinator. That was our whole team, and this was a crazy, amazing experience. Thanks to our Magnolia Street team.
Yeah, and Hattie, our moral support in the studio. Our moral support and our personal Dutch oven...
creator. And to all of you, everybody who supported the crowdfunding campaign, this was amazing. Thank you to you guys. We hope to do many more of these songs for you.
I really do, but I think me and you talked about this when we were having sushi that one night. The next time around, maybe a little more relaxed of a recording situation. This
Yes.
was very rare to have it every like wham bam thank you ma'am.
Yes.
It's very rare to have everything recorded in such a short amount of time, but time is of the essence. As we know, when we signed that contract, the contract made it very clear that time's of the essence.
Yep.
We don't want to
Yep.
waste anybody's time. We want to, you know, do our part and just make sure everything gets done when it needs to get done. But it was a lot. It was a lot, and I don't know if I would want to do that at that full force again.
I agree.
You know, I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining, or like I don't want to make it sound like we had a horrible Plaid Dog experience. They work us to the bone, like we don't get breaks. You know?
No, not at all.
It's not
It
like
was such a like I've never heard anything like it. I've never experienced anything like that. But they have a specific system they use, and you have to be very diligent with your time and deadlines, and that's your budget. That's it. So they allot for everything that's falling under that budget, and it was a very quick process.
Yeah, very quick turnaround time. We don't have a projected date as far as release goes at this time. We're actually still recording. Like, we still have a remote session coming up with our fiddle player. We also want to add some key parts. Mike did add some key parts on One Green Eye, One Blue, like some MIDI stuff, but you have your brother-in-law?
Yeah, hopefully we are able to get those keys, and if not one, all of the songs, and he did say that all of the songs would not be a problem.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So hopefully we can do some keys, because I know we were supposed to have Daniel on keys, but we ran out of the time with Daniel, and he was allotted for just those couple days in the studio. He was supposed to do keys, but we unfortunately used all of the time we had with him to finish the bass and all the lead guitars and all the songs. So unfortunately we don't have the pleasure of using him for the keys this time. But yeah, hopefully Elias can come through with some cool stuff. And hopefully Mike has no problem slipping his parts into the songs, into the mix. So hopefully we can get that done. But yeah, just finishing up little bells and whistles. Hopefully Mike puts the tambourine on the stuff like we wanted, and just tying all the loose ends together. And then once that's all the tracking is complete, we can roll over to finishing the comping, deciding if we like certain parts, how we sing a certain thing, because once like that's all good, we got to have that solid before we even move on to mixing and mastering. Because what he does, I think he prints the track. So he prints the track as is, and then he bounces that out, and then he has to re-import it for mixing and mastering. I believe.
Right. It's better to get all those little changes on the rough thing than try to change anything on the master, for sure.
Yeah, we have not gone into the mixing stages yet at the time of recording this episode, but we'll keep you guys posted as, you know, everything happens in future episodes.
Make sure to visit our Patreon. Under that $8 tier is where all of our music stuff is going, and I'm going to start maybe once a week, maybe more than once a week. I think it would be fun to include the raw footage. I posted something today, just raw studio footage of us in there doing our thing before it all gets spliced and diced into like a finished product. So that'll be under our $8 tier. All of our visual and music stuff will be over there. Just a little extra something.
Yeah, I like that idea. And some of the funny little clips that we were talked about in this episode, like Kristina standing in an elevator with a cart full of Costco food with her tambourine and sunglasses on, like that's going up on the $8 tier, like no questions. Also, the unedited version of the thing you spliced together of us doing the harmonies with the cucumber.
Yes, the green, eye, and blue.
Hands down. And like obviously all the stuff that we talked about earlier with the house, we'll put all those articles so you guys can see all the history of that cool house we were talking about earlier, and anything else that, you know, we chatted about, and just some cool, you know, behind the scenes stuff. I think it would be cool to give them a little bit of that. And for anybody who donated to the project, we do plan on doing a digital booklet. Also, we have this beautiful PDF Kristina put together of the production journal we were reading from in this episode, of all of her minutes and her notes and all the random quotes and little nuanced like detailed descriptions of like what parts we want in the songs, and you know what Daniel was doing, and how
those will go up there too.
Yeah, that whole booklet will go up there, as well as you gotta give me your studio footage so I can edit everything together, like all the footage that you took.
Oh, good. Okay. Maybe I'll just buy a thumb drive and send it to you.
Just mail it to me. Yeah, we will also do like a documentary style, I guess, like a finished, edited together, really cool documentary. Entire project from the September trip to now. That'll be a fun thing to watch and look back on.
You make me want to be very brave. I would not have done this without you. And it's amazing how it's turned out. And I think it's just like one little tiny step into what it's going to become. But it's the one and only practical, magic inspired concept album on the market.
You've been my passenger princess. Just riding along. You're my little sidecar.
Yeah.
Do you remember that show, that cooking show back in the day? I think it was called Two Fat Ladies, and it was like
No.
two ladies that had like this little like motorcycle, and one was in like the driver's seat, and there was like the other one in like the little sidecar. That's us.
I love it.
I gotta send you a clip of the Two Fat Ladies. They're
Oh my lord.
hysterical. Two little British ladies. They're so cute. That's us. Yeah.
That's us. We're the Stinas.
We are the Stinas. Thank you guys so much for listening, tuning in, and listening to all of our random stories and breakdowns of the creation of this crazy songs. So thank you. And we'll see you in the next one. Until then, I'm Justina.
I'm Kristina.
And we'll see you next time.
At the house on Magnolia Street, would you